Give me 1 second, guys. It's not working. Okay. Wow, we're live. Okay, good. Okay. Wow, we're live. Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. Works. Welcome everyone to the stream. Hopefully you're all doing fantastic today. So yeah, it's a beautiful Tuesday or whatever day it is. So let's go check out what to do. So let us see here. There's been a lot of news to talk about, been a lot of content basically. And we do have more news for XRP as well. Right now, XRP has been really pumping. It has been going crazy. So let's check Twitter here. Let's check what's up. Let me just fully prepare for everything because it's going to be a long stream, guys. Be a very long stream today. Here. So let us see here. F11. All right, guys, we got this. Right, all is well. So first news we have for today is Jerome Powell and Federal Reserve are expected to cut interest rates at 25% BPS. That's pretty nice. I mean, today, so could we be seeing another market pump? That would be amazing. But right now, I'm still not sure if, 25% is really going to be enough. We saw some Solana growth, which was amazing. It's awesome. But we didn't really see that bull market cycle yet where everything just doubles or triples. I feel like it was only for Bitcoin and XRP is really the ones that have won in the past few days. And, if we look at for example, Solana, it's still just reclaiming its all-time high. So it really tells me that right now, the 25 interest rates is what we really need. That's what's the goal here, is to get at least 75. If we can get 3 interest rate cuts, that would be absolutely amazing though. So that is for today. That's the main news we have for today. Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve are expected to cut interest rates by at least 25 points. Again, this is a big moment in history because we did not have anything like that for years. And there was a huge recession anyway. So yeah, I'm definitely very, very hyped about that. Now, also in the news is, well, there's a lot of news. So Narava urges the Fed to slash rates by 50 points today, add another 50 points at the next meeting. I would be definitely hyped if that happens. But are we really going to have 50 points? Maybe we're just going to have a 25-point cut. Who knows at this point? So yeah, look at this. RXC Osprey Spot XRP ETF sent to launch tomorrow. I mean, these ETFs aren't really that big of a thing for XRP, right? They weren't that big of a deal. So we are still waiting for the big XRP ETFs, which are potentially coming in the next few days, 3, 4, 5, maybe 3 weeks, something like that. These are just the small fish, guys, so don't you worry. I'm not too worried about it. But who knows at that point. So That's what we have right now. Preparing for the stream here. So yeah, interest rate cuts today, and also we have, you know, basically politics where people want Jerome Powell to cut as many rates as possible, of course, because they would get the most money possible as well. This would be the best for the market as well. Let us check what we have here. So let us start with a video today. The US and UK just shocked all XRP holders. Let me see what's that.
Ladies and gentlemen.
So yeah, I feel like the market pump could be starting soon as well. That would be pretty amazing.
All of you watching today's video are not nearly bullish enough. Now, why is that? Well, in case you are unaware, all of the world's leading economies, all of the world's largest companies right now are investing massively into the crypto space. And these aren't just minuscule little investments, you know, a little bit of, you know, payment transactions here, a little bit of this there. We're talking about multi-trillion-dollar investments.
I mean, yeah, of course, they're going to get money from that. We are just before the rate cuts are starting to happen. That's why I feel like that Solana could really pump up, not just XRP. XRP has been a huge growth this year, but there are others that have a lot of potential right now. This could be like the new meme coin cycle that we have been seeing. I don't think it's going to be strong. I feel like, you know, Pump Fund is great and all the projects we were seeing, but I feel it's going to be hard to come back to where we were in 2021. That's the big problem here.
Unlike anything we have ever seen before. And so I'm going to share that with you guys here in today's video. I'm going to talk about why I am becoming increasingly more bullish. And well, tomorrow I want to remind you guys, the Fed is going to be announcing their rate cut decision. These are all culminating together to create a bull run unlike anything else before. But I need you guys to stay until the very end of the video because I will share some alarming data, which should cause you guys to pull the reins just a little bit and evaluate and analyze the markets. But we'll get to that. First, let's talk about the world leading economies and what they're doing in the crypto space. The US and the UK are about to announce a new crypto cooperation deal. What does this mean? Well, very likely what this is to do with is something to do with stablecoins. What we know is the United States of America wants to deeply involve themselves in the world of stablecoins. And
that's very true, because like if you have stablecoins, you can literally have faster transfers at that rate. Everything is going to be faster, it's going to be cheaper, and you know, more transactions means more volume, which more volume means more money for everyone, especially the banks.
And this is a way that the US dollar will have more demand, of course, for treasuries, because for every dollar that goes into a US stablecoin, it is backed by a treasury, which is, of course, great for the US government and, you know, their debt. But on top of that, it also improves US dollar dominance on an international scale. And so what we're seeing today is the US government basically scrambling to get everyone to use stablecoins. Because if every single bank started using stablecoins instead of the US dollar, it would actually be substantially better for the...
I feel like the big problem here is a lot of people still don't realize how stablecoins are still very far away. I feel like they're at least, you know, 1 to 3 years far away. So a lot of people are thinking, well, they're just, you know, 1 to 2 weeks. I still feel like the regulation here is still super early. Even like a lot of the stuff we have in crypto, it's super, super early in that sense. We have never seen something so early, like we have been waiting since 2021 for that.
US economy. Why? Well, there'll be immense amount of liquidity available to the US government for deficit spending. This would be a dream come true for them. And in a lot of ways, it would also be better for the average consumer who's transacting in US dollars. Transactions would be quite a bit faster. There would be less guardrails on those transactions, less people telling you that you can and can't do things. And overall, it's a net win. Now, What is going to come of this particular deal, we have yet to see. But based off of everything that I have observed, it's likely to be to do with US dollar stablecoins. And this is probably not going to be the first cooperation deal in the crypto space when it comes to stablecoins. It's probably going to be...
Yeah, US and UK to announce a new crypto cooperation deal. Mostly 99% of the time, it is about stablecoins. That is true. But the thing we are really waiting for is the Clarity Act. The Clarity Act is what's pushing for a lot of people here. That's what people are hoping for. The Clarity Act regulation getting approved.
Every single country starting to make these sort of deals because they all realize the benefit in using stablecoins over their currency. Some countries might launch stablecoins that are backed by the US dollar, such as the BRICS alliances. Others might just continue to buy their own treasuries like US, UK, and many other European countries. But one thing is becoming adamantly clear. People are buying gold, people are buying stocks at record numbers, and the majority of this volume has yet to come into the crypto space. Yes, today XRP is up. It's at about 305, which is amazing, but it's not getting anywhere near the same amount of volume as the gold and stock market is right now. And as I mentioned in my previous video, and as I will continue to mention in the future to remind you guys, it comes in cycles. Gold, stocks, crypto. And so
gold isn't really used a lot right now. The issue is gold is hard to actually get through out there. That's the big major thing. Like, how are you going to do like 10 kilos of gold? How will you move that from one place to another? People are buying it because they're preparing for some sort of a recession in 2025. Or late 2026, early 2026. And that's why gold is going up at this point. That's the main reason.
Highs that we're seeing with gold, based off of the all-time highs that we're seeing, even for some other crypto assets like BNB, absolutely rocketing up lately to $950 per coin. It happens in cycles, and altcoin season is coming.
Nice.
Now, earlier in the video, I did mention...
Yeah, so more companies are joining in to add these crypto payments on the new AI payments protocol, which is just general news. I think we have been seeing that for like last 4 years. So Michael Saylor and multiple executives to meet US lawmakers tomorrow to help advance strategic Bitcoin reserve bill. Now that's pretty cool. But again, this is just regulation that's probably going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 years to even get ahead.
Bitcoin reserve bill. This alone could potentially bring in hundreds of billions of dollars of volume to Bitcoin, which once again will be recycled down to Ethereum, to XRP, to Solana, to BNB at some point in time. There's a lot of whales that are watching this information. They're saying, okay, like if the US government's going to start buying, I don't know, like $1 billion of Bitcoin every other day or something like that, this is going to be huge. And this is something that the US government can absolutely do. And it's something that they want to do. And they're just looking at, a deficit neutral ways to make this happen so that they can get a strategic reserve and they can be part of this party. And so, yeah, they might be buying Bitcoin quite a bit higher than where it was a little while ago. It would have been great if they did this a long time ago, but they're doing it. And this is amazing. This should make people incredibly excited. Because if they're successful in doing this, everyone who's in the crypto space right now will have a lot to gain if they're navigating these markets correctly. I think there's a very high likelihood that many people will get a little...
I feel like, Pump Fund, all these projects that are not XRP will get regulated at some point. That is the truth. Like, a lot of these projects are going to get regulated while technologies will get ahead. Like, XRP, that's the one that they have been pushing for. Michael Saylor and multiple crypto executives to meet US lawmakers. Like, again, in a very early stage at that point.
Bit too cocky and not navigate these markets correctly, and that's why I make these videos, because I want to remind you guys of what I think is the best move at what time. Not financial advice, just what I'm doing. But we're gonna see what comes of it. Now, I also did mention earlier in my video that there was some things you need to watch out for, and you should definitely stay and watch until this point in the video, and that is what's going on in the banks. And this is why the Fed, I want to make it very clear, is absolutely forced to cut rates. If they don't cut rates, we're going to see the worst financial crisis we have ever seen in our entire lifetime. So, unrealized losses on investment securities for U.S. banks has reached $395.3 billion in Q2 of 2025. This is 6 times higher than at the peak of the 2008 financial crisis. This also marks the 13th consecutive quarter of losses as interest
wasn't that the time of where the market was recovering anyway? So that is pretty normal. Like, losses are a normal thing with banks.
2008 and the crisis that came over here, and we compare that to what we're seeing right here today, it becomes abundantly clear that there is a severe issue here. Now, I do want to point out that 2008 was not great. 2017 to 2018, not amazing during this period of time, but there are periods of time where they are profitable. And you can see the profits growing and the losses of time where they are profitable. What I'm assuming is the banks are hoping here that once interest rates are lowered aggressively enough, the markets will go crazy again and we'll be all good. Now, this is by no means guaranteed, but if the Fed doesn't do anything, it poses such a significant risk to the global economy that, frankly speaking, they would be forced to step in. It would be infinitely worse than the 2008 financial crisis. The amount of stimulus and printing that the Fed would have to do to bail out these banks.
The issue here is 2008 cannot compare too much to 2022's crashes, because 2008 crashes are safe in that way. Like, we're way less safe. So 2008 crashes, we could see way more than 2022, for example.
This time around would make 2008 look like peanuts. And that's precisely why I know the Fed is likely to continue to lower rates so that they can provide this stimulus for the foreseeable future here. The Fed has kept rates extremely high for far too long, and it is detrimental. But you can see a little trend here. The losses are getting less severe. And, you know, the rate cuts will only help this as well. And what I'm hoping is very shortly here, we're going to be seeing banks recover and the economy steamrolling ahead, and the stock market, crypto market, and gold, everything absolutely exploding. But these figures, I'm going to continue to report for you guys because they are very important figures. The quality of CPI inflation data is also deteriorating. People just do not trust the Fed. They do not trust the information that they are being reported as, and that makes sense because they're constantly revising it. People are done with the Federal Reserve, and if the Fed does not cut rates...
Yeah, I agree with Levi here. Like, we really need some rate cuts at this point. Levi is pretty spot on a lot of this stuff. But here, unrealized losses, bank continue to pose a significant risk. Again, the banks have a lot of money, so it's not that big of a problem here. So yeah, overall, there's more collaboration. We're going to be seeing some news for the markets this week. US and UK to announce new crypto corporation deal, which is amazing. We have been kind of waiting for that type of deal for today. So we do have gold reaching new all-time highs, which is also amazing. But it's nothing really worth noting here. I want to see if there's anything new except the rate cuts, which are the big thing for today. So yeah, the rate cuts is something I'm going to be live streaming. Michael Saylor, you know, meeting up with people. It's great and it's good for the, you know, total crypto regulation, but we're still like 3, 4, 5 years away. Crypto is here to stay, but a lot of this stuff that we are seeing right now, you know, we're seeing meme coins, we're seeing everything like that. It's being pretty crazy now, and that will get probably regulated at this point in some way, shape, or form. And XRP has been building up for multiple of years. So I'm definitely excited for that. But right now, it just seems like another day. Like, it really depends on the rate cuts, what happens to the market. So XRP tomorrow. Let's check this out. There's been a lot of news about XRP right now.
Tomorrow is going to be the biggest day for cryptocurrencies this entire year, and I'm actually literally serious about this. Tomorrow is the biggest event financially for the entire all markets, cryptos, XRP, everything. And depending on what takes place tomorrow is going to fold and shape the future for XRP and cryptos. However, we have so much to talk about, so make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up and stick around to the end of this video. So hasn't
XRP been like at $3 all this time? But these rate cuts is what it could finally push forward along with the ETFs.
5 basis points.
Maybe that's what's going to push Solana as well and other projects as long as they get ETFs. That could be well for them. They're really trying to push those ETFs ahead and basically saying, hey, yeah, we're going to win at that. But right now, yeah, that's why XRP hasn't been seeing much. The unemployment data went down a bit, but it's still very bullish overall.
What is taking place is the crypto market has pumped up, the stock market has pumped up in anticipation of this event. So in my opinion, this event is priced in, it's being priced in. And what I think,
yeah, he's been calling that all of this is already like planned anyway,
is going to happen, although tomorrow the rates are going to be cut most likely. This is not financial advice. Again, this is just for educational purposes, but the Fed cutting interest rates is very, very bullish, because what that ultimately does is it injects liquidity into the crypto market. Without new liquidity in the crypto market, the market's always just going to be chopping up and down, up and down. But with new liquidity being injected, that's how we make new highs, new all-time highs. And this particular event that's taking place tomorrow is going to do that very exact thing. And then the next several months after, we're likely to get more interest rate cuts. And this is going to inject a lot of liquidity very quickly into the crypto markets, XRP, altcoins, and even in the stock market. So
I feel like the big problem right now with XRP is the hype has died down a bit. So it's not the same hype as perhaps we saw 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. And that's completely fine. You cannot sustain this hype with XRP. But a lot of people are hoping that we're always going to be seeing some type of hype events. We're always going to be seeing something new. It takes time. In this space, it's absolutely crazy what's going on. And, you know, these key dates in September, October are going to probably change everything.
October is when I personally think cryptos are going to go absolutely crazy, including XRP. As you could see, we take a look at my indicator here. This is the S&P 500. The S&P 500, it is calming down a little bit. We've pumped up into FOMC. We're starting to cool off a little bit. That is very, very normal. So what I could expect after FOMC is a small pullback in the stock market and probably something very similar in the crypto market as well. And then I expect us to continue pushing up higher. This is personally my view on the markets in the immediate short term. Do I think the cycle is over? Is it topped? No, but I do think cryptos, XRP specifically, this is what we're talking about here, it's going to pull back a little bit.
I feel like we're going to get one push before 2026, starts. And that's going to be the big problem. 2026 is the thing I'm worried about. At what time is the Fed meeting? I got to check. So why is everybody defending this rate cut? I bet you it does nothing. I just feel it does something, but it's already priced in. They really want to manipulate these prices as long as possible. Well, the rate cuts, we have been waiting for them for 1 to 3 years now, and they're finally here. The rate cuts, it's been 3 years, and it's deserved that we are getting them. But again, if people are waiting something for 3 years, they're not going to be that excited because it's coming out, because they're already kind of expecting it's going to be there.
I think XRP should for sure hold this zone here. We should hold this zone here, and any type of significant pullback into this region here, I'm personally a buyer. I'm looking to buy XRP, and I think that in October we could see a similar pump as we have seen in this region here. And that would put us, if we take the exact leg of this particular move here and we measure it out from the breakout site, which the market loves to repeat itself over and over again, especially how big the moves, this could put us to around $5 for XRP. This is my lowest target price prediction for XRP this bull market.
$4.6. Now, first, if we want to get like $4.6, we got to break about $4 barrier. So just know this is super important. Like breaking $4 over $4 is going to be the hard part.
We could pump to even up to $7. And I'm talking about between now and towards November.
So yeah, $7 to November is going to be super hard. That means it would have to have a 100% increase, a 100% increase in that way. So just imagine, is that going to happen? Who knows? Probably not.
That's my timeline of when I think this is going to be happening for XRP. Let me know if you guys agree with that in the comments below. But make sure you guys are also in my private community where you can follow and copy my trades as a professional trader. You can get my constant market.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping for it. Like, I'm hoping for the bull runs, but are they going to happen? Like, to $7, it's not impossible. It's definitely not impossible. Welcome everyone to the stream.
With that
Smash
in the comments
like
below
if you haven't already, and follow for more content. It's a game, yeah. So yeah, I don't think that today is gonna be a massive pump. If it wasn't priced in, it would already explode, you know, to all-time highs. But it could give you know 5%, 10% gains at that level. But yeah, we do have a lot more news for XRP. It's not just the rate cuts. It's probably 10 times more stuff than just that. So will Jerome Powell ignite a huge crypto move today? So I'm really hoping for that, because that would be absolutely amazing. Jerome Powell, you know, coming back strong, giving us those juicy gains. But is it going to happen? Who knows? Like, that's the big problem. This gains could be just 5%. It could be just like anything else, or we could be completely shocked if we get 1 to 3 returns, basically 1 to 3% returns.
So smash up the like button to a brand new all-time high and let's get straight into it. Smash up the like button to a brand new all-time high and let's get straight into it. Of the US, smash up the like button to a brand new all-time high and let's...
Why is it playing my audio twice? I
Reserve.
do not know, but crypto reserve, this is the one thing I'm really bullish on as well.
Discuss the advancement of the US strategic reserve. Well, that continued into today. In fact, everything going orange at the White House, all on Capitol Hill, with Michael Saylor and many other people working forward to organize leadership for the US digital age and that reserve. And it is under the title Digital Power Network. This is a great advancement, and one thing that for me is a absolute pillar of where this market's going to go. Many people obviously are looking to Bitcoin as the hedge. You heard Eric Trump talk at the start of this video as...
I agree with that. Crypto reserves are the big thing, especially XRP reserves. They are like the main reason what people are hyped about. But at this point, it's super, super early to say, like, are crypto reserves regulated? Are they not regulated? Anyway, we already have like a 20 million one for XRP, so that's a good start.
How it's a hedge against real estate, how it's a hedge against inflation, and even the data suggests right now that the US dollar's lost 10% of its value, whereas Bitcoin and the crypto market has done the absolute opposite. This is very bullish indeed. Now, clearly, we've got a big deal today. Federal Reserve rate cuts, and everyone is weighing in, from Goldman Sachs and equally some other key people. Alex Kruger, as an example, giving his view. So what are they saying, and what do we need to be aware of? Bearing in mind later in terms of...
I mean, 21, the thing is, 20 times out of 21, every time we got rate cuts, we saw the price pumping. So even if it's priced in, we could be seeing like, you know, 10%, 5%. Who knows? Probably not $7, but it's a good start for me.
Where they think Jerome Powell is going to go. Very interesting read. So they said here that the Fed is expected to cut 25 basis points at the meeting later today, but they noted Jerome Powell is likely to deliver a hawkish message. Now, we've talked about this on the channel. Remember, the labor market is very stretched right now. Yes, the stock market, the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, all hitting record highs, showing massive amounts of movement in the market. But we also know that, well, the reality is that Powell's statements will be looking towards the labor market and how they secure that going forward. Those revisions aren't simply going to go away. But Wilson Elizondo noted that inflation is still far from the 2% Fed target, and inflation has improved structurally. It is, however, trending sideways, and this has been a discussion for a while. Can they truly get below 2%? I'm not so sure, but they think that Jerome Powell will come in hawkish on the back of a 25 basis points cut. Now, Alex Kruger...
25 basis points is actually pretty amazing. If we get it. Like, we definitely, like, it's a 95% chance, almost 100%. Can we get 50 basis points, though? That would definitely, like, double down, in my opinion, on the gains there.
Also wanted to give his view, particularly around the rate decision, and he expects a dovish rate cut tomorrow. Now, this could even go as far as to say 50 basis points could come in. I think it's unlikely, and that would be a pretty big shift in the market. But he also wrote the fact that it says, I am still optimistic about stocks and Bitcoin markets. often forget how fast Bitcoin can move. And if you didn't see my video yesterday talking about why I think so many people have got this market wrong, I would highly recommend going and watching it. The reality is that people are looking at a volatility measure, this remaining around 40% by the end of the year. However, this translates to a 23% volatility for the next 4 months. This could then signal a rally in Bitcoin price and rally quickly. We could see $136,000 to $150,000 quite easily, according to Alex Kruger, and reaching new highs by the end of the year.
Now, these prices would be insane, but again, we need at least 2 rate cuts. We need the ETFs approved. All of that is what's really pushing it forward. All of this type of news is what I'm hoping for to actually see, you know, XRP going to $5. Because if we don't see that, if we don't see the perfect scenario, it's going to be much, much harder for XRP to hit like $7 or something like that, and the crypto markets to pump. Right now, we are in terms where we need to hit every scenario perfectly. But this is a very good video. Like, Google releases AI payments protocol that includes support for stablecoins. Like, it's pretty clear stablecoins are becoming the future when one of the biggest companies is doubling down on it.
And sales for. This is a big deal. And this is all to do with their AI apps basically sending and receiving money. It's an open source protocol, but it doesn't include support for more traditional forms of payment like credit cards and debit cards. But it also has stable coins and cryptocurrencies pegged to underlying assets like the US dollar. So officially, we can say Google are now in the market. This is obviously one of the magnificent.
I feel like they have always been in the market, or at least watching it, right? So who knows? Have always been in the market, or so yeah, I'm really hopeful that these rate cuts that we're getting this month is gonna invite retail investors in, because a lot of these retail investors and institutional investors would start buying XRP.
7, it's a big deal, and many people need to understand that, well, at this stage in the market, Google decided to get in. I actually think you're going to see more and more companies coming, and if my opinion is right, this is a dip in the toe for them. Now, if you are looking to trade the markets, don't forget, check out BitUnix, my exchange of choice. I've partnered up with them to bring you a fantastic deal. 40% rebate on your deposit to $1,000. You're going to get $400 for.
So yeah, pretty clear idea here is these rate cuts. But again, for XRP, it's not just that. It's not just the rate cuts that we should be looking on. It's ETFs. It's all these updates that we are getting in the future. There is really ton of things that could save XRP and push it to $5, $6, $7. I'm hopeful though. I'm definitely hopeful. It's not just one single thing, and maybe we are overestimating the rate cuts today. There is gonna be other stuff in plan, in works, but who knows? I'm hoping that, you know, it absolutely explodes and makes us all happy. So yeah, what else do we have today? Here we go. So XRP, this is huge. The Fed is doing what? So look at that. We have been waiting for the Fed to actually act on XRP as well. And now it's finally doing it.
YouTube, I love being here. And of course, I hope you're having a great day. Today's the big day. Today is the monster day. It is huge, as they would say, with the Fed. And they could change everything. Now, they could go out there and cut by 50 basis points. I don't think so. They could cut by 25 basis points. Everybody thinks so. Or they could not cut at all, which I don't think
that's going to happen. Like, not a cutting at all. Because right now the markets and the economy is getting just better and better. And usually when the economy gets good, you don't need to have high interest rates anymore. You can decide, okay, I'm going to cut these. And that's what they're doing here.
There's a chance out there at all that would even happen. But we're going to see everything start to change in a good way. In other words, as they lower rates from the Fed, and you may say, what do I care, Mo? I don't care about none of it. You do, because it's the rates of the Fed kind of directly affect the rates that we all pay for mortgages, car loans, credit cards, all that, and the other things. So if you want your credit interest to go lower, then you want the Fed to cut.
Exactly. And I feel like a lot of people trying to buy houses or having loans, they'll just double down and get that interest rate now that is going to be cut. They're going to be waiting a few days, because like 0.5%, 0.75% can really add up over time. it can be a big problem.
And of course, for those trying to refinance or buy a home or any of that, we need these rates to come down. And more importantly, if we continue to see a deterioration in the job claims, and the jobless claims and the unemployment and all that, you better hope they start lowering rates. And you got to ask yourself, what's the biggest part of what the Fed does? Is it the jobs to keep that solid, or is it the inflation? And they have a dual mandate, and they're supposed to keep them both. You know, the inflation around 2%, jobs really solid.
When jobs like drop anyway, we got like a lower, more unemployment, but then we also got more jobs this month, if I remember correctly. So it's not that big of a problem cutting these rates. And the reason why they're cutting rates anyway is to make more jobs. It's very clear.
Which one do you let go if you can only save one? And it's what was that one? You know, it's not a good situation. Let's just put it that way. It's not good. And they had to face that. I think it was during the 70s. I can't remember what the guy's name was who had to deal with that for the Fed, but it was a bad situation. We don't want to get in that situation. I don't think we have to, but we got a lot to talk about in this. I'm going to update the portfolio for you. I'm going to show you that in this video. More importantly, folks, man, it was wildfire. For those who got in, man, a lot of people, I'll show you.
So yeah, pretty clear idea that XRP rate cuts here would boost the price.
You're going to have, 1 or 2 out of 5 that don't pan out, but the ones that pan out, boy, they pan out.
So here we have, just watch and see.
A lot of times, like I said, we're hitting about 83% overall, which is fantastic. Next on the list, though, before I get into everything, make sure you guys, the third link down below right here, you guys see that Moo link? Yeah, absolutely fire. This is one of the best promos I've ever seen them do. And they have the deposit 100 or more. They got NVIDIA stock 20, 2,000 or more, the 50.
So yeah, pretty clear idea here is Ethereum is going down just a bit, also because the hype is down. And I feel like that's pretty normal for September anyway.
Show you guys this again, though. This is Ethereum, right? So you go up to Ethereum and you look at where we are in terms of the run from low to high over this. So we got here and we just ran like a champ. Look where we came down at, and we're seeing strong strength at the 50%. But look where it got down to. It hit the 61.8 and bounced back up now. And so I'm hoping the 50% holds here and we start to move back up. The Fed's going to have a lot to do with this. If the Fed comes out and talks very dovish and they're going to cut and
there's no reason to not cut at this point. They have a ton of reason to go ahead and cut it and boost the market, make everyone happy. Everyone is going to be glad that they cut it. Everybody's going to win. And later on, 2026, they can talk about maybe increasing it again if it gets worse. I don't think we're going to get 3 rate cuts because that's very risky for them. But, 1, 2 rate cuts, it can happen. I mean, 1 rate cut is guaranteed at this point. Maybe 2 rate cuts would be very nice.
You start to see this start to move up because the riskier assets start to get a little bit of love. Now you're seeing us sell the news into the week before the Fed meeting. Keep that in mind. We'll keep that in mind for the next Fed meeting, see if it's the same or not. But right now, Ethereum continues to hold strong. Big move up, big move down, big move up, big move down, big move up, and you're seeing a big move down. How low does it go? Well, what do you notice about these big moves? New higher low, new higher low, and I am expecting a new higher low. That is my...
This pretty much doesn't mean anything in my opinion because it all depends on when we get these rate cuts. If you follow the crypto market cycles, is always when something, big happens is when the crypto markets bump.
My opinion on this, and I can't tell you if that's going to be the way it is. I am watching this. It could, if you start connecting dots and stuff, it could... As you see, it could come all the way down into this zone. Anything under here is what would make me nervous to the point of possibly reducing my exposure. But if you look at these lines of where they're at, this would be all the way down at that 4,300, which is not bad, 4,350. It's not that bad from where I'm at. And so I just wanted to give you an idea of what I'm watching. And we'll see how this goes for Ethereum. Now we're going to look at XRP, but before I do, let's pull up the portfolio.
So yeah, he has a $2 million portfolio, which has increased for him, and he's holding some assets here, which is pretty amazing. Props to him. That's a pretty good portfolio in my opinion. That's why I like showing this on my channel. It is absolutely amazing to reach 2.2 million, which some people will unfortunately never see in their lifetime.
From yesterday for everybody. I had somebody out there, oh, he lost money, didn't show it. Guys, I made money. I was up almost $9,000 yesterday. I am the most transparent person out here.
Yeah, he's probably one of the few people that's actually showing her portfolio out there and what he's holding. So props to that. That's why, you know, Trader Mo is really good at that. Again, he's not telling people it's super risky in the crypto space. He's not telling people who loses, who wins. But he is showing people, hey, you know, some days are bad, some days are good. He also has shown in 2022 when his portfolio was down 200,000.
And it's incredible in terms of me showing exactly what I'm doing. Nothing was done yesterday. Somehow I got 32 bucks, so probably got a payment from one of these stocks or something in a dividend form. But I got, hey, 32 bucks, I'll take it. And yeah, and so yesterday you can see the stocks I have. Amazon bouncing back a little bit. Baba just freaking killing it for me. Remember, I brought this to you guys, and I even said, hey, I added Baba on. And you got, boom, 50,000. It's now 7.
The issue with stocks, they're awesome. They're more safe. But the ones below are the ones that are giving more returns based on the assets. Look at the people who bought, you know, 3 years ago. They're probably tripled their money. But again, it is super risky. And you never know when the ball might drop. And it's going to be like 3 or 4 years. And everything is crashing. That's what I'm worried about. At that point, I'm worried about what's going to happen next.
22,000 and under, I think it's like a month, maybe 2 months. So 40% gain for everybody who listened. LHX is another big one that's been really good. 64% on NVIDIA. I think anybody could have picked that one. And Rocket's one that I'm playing for the longer term here. So I doubled up on this. I have another account with 100,000 in it. So I have 200,000 in that one. So far, so good. But I'd like to see that run like 20, 30, 40% up as well. So we'll see. Bitcoin, though, this is the one doing well today. Guys, I got it all the way up to, you can see it.
Yeah, so I feel like Bitcoin will stop running up at some point, and it's going to be altcoins. I still don't think we are full in altcoin season. It's still testing that area if we're fully going 100% down into altcoins. XRP still hasn't reached its maximum potential, and Bitcoin might have its full run before we see what we want to see, you know, crypto actually exploding at that point.
Maybe 2,800, Ethereum, blah, nothing really, and still down there overall on the Ethereum. The Solana, look at this, $4,000, the big winner, and I only have 47,000 in. So, and then you go down to, let's see, XRP, there you go, 2,600. So you put it all together, not a bad day today. We started at 2231, now up 200 and, what do we got, 237,000 live here in the last 8 weeks. We'll see if we can push it up to 300,000 up by the end of September. Wouldn't that be good going into Q4 being up like that? It would be incredible. So that's what I'm watching for. Now, remember, the Fed, let's just take a look. They are 100% priced in at cutting at least 25 basis points. The odds of cutting 50 basis points, 4%. Roughly 4%. So if they meet 25 times, one time they shock the world and they cut 50 basis points. Could this be the one? Could we have people?
Nah, I feel like the basis point cut is 100% at this point. You know, it's not even like 4%. He already hinted at it.
People, and this is going to be my opinion. Ready? I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a couple people, maybe 2 to 3, say we should cut 50 basis points. Now, they're going to cut 25 basis points, but you're going to have dissenters. And I think you're going to have 2 to 3 dissenters saying we should have cut 50, putting the pressure on the Fed. And they're usually unanimous. And that, I don't know if that'll scare the market or absolutely make people in long-term bonds and treasuries, like myself, excited about that. Yeah, I put my money where my mouth is. I went in there and I bought some TMF here, which is a triple leverage, high risk. It could end up costing me a lot of money, but I got into this week and obviously, or last week, late last week, and I'm up 1,400 so far, but I'd like to make a lot more. And so that's a really, really dangerous. It's a TLT, but times 3. And there's massive decay on that. And it's kind of a short-term play. It's not meant for holding long-term, but I'm doing a little bit of an experiment. So we're going to see how this thing works out. Between the two, I
don't know what these are. He has XRPI, which I guess is like XRP, but ETFs. So he's holding about 100K of that, 110K. And, you know, based on that, it pretty much tells me like his portfolio, he's very aggressive on XRP here. He's hoping for, you know, just checking at his portfolio here, he's definitely hoping that it pumps in that way by going hard on these altcoin stuff. I don't know what EZ is or Souls, and I think it's super risky because I don't know what they are. Probably like some ETFs or I never heard about. But here he has been doubling down on altcoins, which does, you know, kind of hint at me that it could be another, or at least people are expecting there's going to be another altcoin pump. So XRP already pumped a bit. It's trying to double down in that way. It's trying to get more pumps in that way.
And so that's a really, really dangerous. It's a TLT, but times 3. And there's massive decay on that. And it's kind of a short-term play. It's not meant for holding long-term, but I'm doing a little bit of an experiment. So we're going to see how this thing works out. Between the two, I basically got 700,000 worth of 20-year plus or leveraged with it. So, yeah, so that's what we're looking at there. Now let's get to the XRP, because I do want to show you this. It was actually up today. Or yesterday, as I was talking about it. You can see a beautiful down to the 13 EMA, pushed back. Oh, the next day it opened right here, pushed down, and then the bulls pushed this thing all the way up, and we had a really nice engulfing candle here. So now
So again, a lot of whales are trying to push it through out of $3 to 3.66, but it just doesn't have that momentum yet. It's not at those stages yet. It's not in those levels where it can afford to go to $4. It will still take time.
We're on to today, and I'm not expecting a lot today until the Fed talks. Once the Fed talks, these candles are going to go nuts. What you're going to see now is a little bit up, a little bit down, or those who know starting to make moves before us who don't know, and all of a sudden the candles start to get affected. Right now, I'm loving what I'm seeing here. So you have this massive push up, a little bit of a sell-off down, bounces kind of off the 50 here, back up, 13's acting as support. And what we want to see is a nice, and we got a finishing candle above the 5 EMA, and then we want to see a nice opening, closing candle, and there's your line in the sand right there, folks. That 3, what do I have there? About 307? Yeah. I told you.
That's nothing special. It's not really pumping in that way.
I want to be above $3. Above $3 makes me happy, go lucky, and that's good. Right here is a resistance that we did confirm above, but we confirmed above with a shooting star, which did push us down, and now I'm waiting to see if we can push back up. There you go. That's your XRP news. That's kind of what I'm looking at.
It just shows me it's not ready to push yet until we get like that big news that I was telling you guys about. But it is close. It is bullish, and it is close, and that's what I'm hopeful for. Who knows at this point? Could take weeks before that happens, but if it does happen, well, that's great. So there's that. We have XRP, ready to get going. So there is still hope that October will start amazing, and this is what I'm pretty excited for. So what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. XRP move happening today at last. Let's check this out. Welcome everyone to the stream. Smash that like button. Ripple XRP breaking XRP move happening today. And again, wow. What's happening? Oh, that's year to date. I thought that was 24 hours. Anyway, XRP at $3. Why is it $3? It's very clear that XRP cannot push past until it gets these rate cuts today.
The longer YouTube pushes out the content. So, hey, why not? It's free. You could have done it by now. Now, let's get back into the info. Markets, not looking too bad here. Bitcoin's coming in at $116,394. It's currently up 0.8%. Ethereum coming in at 4,487. It's down about 0.5%. XRP's down about 0.7%, but it's all right. Still holding above $3. We're going to jump into the XRP chart in just a second here. I'm going to show you your key support and resistance levels. Total cryptocurrency market cap coming in at 4.05 trillion. You love to see it. We just
4.5 trillion is definitely nice, especially because 2 years ago we were pushing for even 1 trillion, guys. And again, XRP is carrying this rally right now. It is carrying a large portion of the rally we are seeing and hoping for to see. And again, when you look at September, every 4 years, you know, on the halving of where Bitcoin halves, September was down actually. So 2025 is now up. So somehow we got fooled. But look at 2021. September is down. Look at 2017, down. Look at 2013, it's down. So it's very clear that Septembers are bad post-halving, but somehow it's not looking so bad. You know, maybe this time it's different because of all this hype that we are hoping for.
Green. So September, as you can see, this is usually Bitcoin's worst performing month. But not this year. No. This September is shaping up to be one of the best years in over 13 years. That matters because history says when Bitcoin closes September in green, October and November, we go parabolic. And even December, I mean, look at 2023. We closed September in green. We almost had a 30% gain in October, followed by a close to double-digit gain in November, closing out the year with another double-digit gain. And then
I mean, this really kind of shocked us, right? But look at October. Everywhere it was golden green. And October, and look at December, November. Everywhere almost here, 2019. We don't talk about that. Everywhere was golden green. So I'm really hoping these are the key dates that are going to push XRP out there.
Boom, in January, 40% to the upside. Now layer on what's coming. The Fed's expected to announce rate cuts, the first of what looks to be many rate cuts.
That's
Liquidity
a pretty good
floodgates
video, yeah.
opening. Risk assets are gonna thrive. And for Bitcoin, it's the king of risk assets. I've been saying it for months. Survive September and October is where the legends are made. And folks, real quick, if you're sitting there wondering how do you position your XRP for this kind of cycle, I open up a handful of my 101 calls here. It's called Define Your Winning XRP Strategy with Ripple Van Winkle. That's me. No guessing, no hype, me and you, one-on-one, just a clear and each.
So yeah, look at this. XRP stuck at $3 now since, what is this, July 16th. I remember since July 16th, it was hovering around $3, 3.6. Again, 3.6 is that cycle that we're trying to push through. And it's going to be hard to actually make it through that.
This could break up or it can break down. If it does break down, I mean, look at this nice support level we got from 282 to 274 and then all the way down to 258. That's doomsday scenario. We get to 258. How does that happen? Simple. Bitcoin closes that CME gap. And I put out the tweet yesterday. Your key supports are sitting around 282 and 293 with your key resistance areas, 314, 336, and 369. For those of you that are paying attention to my Twitter page, every day we're going to be having TA, technical analysis, coming out with support and resistance on your major assets, XRP.
So yeah, the support technical resistance here is 3.36. Guys, this is the one I was calling 3.69. And near-term cap 3 hits. So I'm guessing the more hits, the more it's gonna take to actually break that barrier. Moving averages, bearing crossover, RSI 14. RSI basically means momentum still leans bullish, break above 3.14. Again, as long as 2.9, which I was calling for, holds, which is gonna be hard to break anyway because it is very strong and it's hard to sell, it's gonna be bullish and the price is slowly going up. So they are hoping to actually hold above $2.9. And then the whales can keep on buying, like while someone is selling big supply. That's a very, very basic terms of it.
282 and 293 with your key resistance areas, 314, 336, and 369. For those of you that are paying attention to my Twitter page, every day we're going to be having TA, technical analysis, coming out with support and resistance.
I mean, maybe we could get with this XRP rate cuts, maybe we could finally get this what we have been waiting for, this 3.6 resistance broken.
On your major assets, XRP,
Smash that like button,
Cardano,
guys, if you haven't already.
Bitcoin, Arbitron, Quant, Chainlink, Avalanche, XLM. They're all going to be in there. They will be going out just throughout random times of the day. So keep your eyes on that, and you'll get exact charts, layouts, my take, your breakout spots, where we're going, all that good stuff. And Incredible Crypto, it's like Bitcoin's actually looking really good here on the lower time frames. Hoping I can get a fill over the next 24 to 48 hours.
I mean, this kind of resonates with me because this is when we get the rate cuts. Let me see when the rate cuts are on. Rate cuts, Jerome Powell, that's going to be the biggest momentum today. How many interest rates to make and break fast? So quarter percentage and September, October, and December meetings. So 3 meetings we have, September, October, and December. And isn't it going to be today anyway? So set stone on expectations to poised to cut rates from 4.5 to 4.25. Well, it's not a lot. It's definitely a hopeful momentum we have for XRP.
Let me get this. Ripple. This is Brad Garlinghouse. A little bit older, but this is a throwback. This is going to segue us into where we are going next. Let's listen to this clip of him. And then let's tie this into what we have coming, right? Talking about U.S. government here, talking about ETFs, talking about XRP being added to that stockpile. Listen to this.
Why do you think XRP wasn't specifically named in the executive order for the digital asset stockpile?
Well, so XRP was named by the president on Truth Social. He posted something saying that there should be other tokens, that there's going to be a Bitcoin strategic reserve and then a crypto stockpile that would include things like XRP.
Days later.
If they part of U.S. government's digital asset stockpile, imagine the price pumping. Adding an ETF launch expected before year end. Wow, amazing. I would definitely be happy to see that.
The executive order didn't include it. Why was that?
I don't know what specifically was in the executive order. My understanding is there's going to be a Bitcoin strategic reserve. There'll be a crypto stockpile representing other cryptos.
So yeah, maybe in a mix of these, we don't know how much XRP will be bought, but that's another thing. It's not just the rate cuts.
I would expect that will include XRP. Look, at the end of the day, I think the stark contrast is in the Biden administration, we couldn't get a meeting with people at the White House. Now we're welcomed into the White House, and that's just a massive change. I think we want this industry to thrive in the United States. We don't want to push it offshore where you have fewer regulations.
I think the reason I keep pushing you too is because I think now it's widely accepted that this is a pro-crypto administration. But the details, that is what's causing an overhang, the uncertainty of the details. So to the extent you have confidence, right, about XRP being in that stockpile or otherwise getting more support for an ETF.
I mean, Brad is telling you.
I mean, ETFs, crypto ETFs is what's really pushing the narrative for XRP to be part of the US government. Adding ETFs launching expected before year end. What a nice way that would be, right? I would definitely be happy for that. Everyone is hoping for the ETFs, not the rate cuts, because that's a 0.25% rate cut versus something that's going to invite millions or billions of people.
Point blank. And Brad's been in these meetings with the people at the White House, with the higher ups, that XRP is going to be included in the digital asset stockpile. It is crystal clear. He has also told you about ETFs, right? He made that prediction that we will see XRP ETFs. And here we go. He's going to touch on it right here.
Yeah.
For example, where does that confidence come from and what kind of timeline do you see it happening on?
So I have immense confidence on the ETF. I think there's 11 different filings pending with the SEC to launch ETFs from everybody from Bitwise to Franklin Templeton and a whole bunch of people in between. I think those will be live in the second half of this year. We have seen even outside the United States, you have live ETPs. And at a time when a lot of outflows are exiting some of the crypto ETFs, you're seeing inflows into XRP. And I think that's because you...
That's the thing. A lot of big institutions are buying. They don't care about the market. They just want to diversify.
Had this false negative pressure from the SEC, this kind of, you know, an exogenous hand holding things down that's now being released. And that's great for the market. That's great for builders within the XRP ecosystem globally.
There you go. So Brad Brad made his prediction. He called the shot, and he is right, because what's coming tomorrow, your first ever spot ETF. It's not a true spot, I understand that, but this will set the tone for what is coming in October. Grayscale is the first one. The first, I believe it's the second week of October, we will get it. The announcement's supposed to come on the weekend for the approval. We're going to get it before that because we know the SEC, government employees, we don't work the weekends, right? They don't do it. So Brad's been spot on. We're talking about ETFs. Look at this. You're past 24 hours. Look at all the ETF filings that we have received.
So yeah, the ETF filings last 24 hours, AVAX ETF, Defiance ETF, a lot of ETFs, because usually they're hoping for this push in September to October is when these ETFs would potentially get approved, right?
Bitwise Avalanche ETF, a Definance ETFs on Bitcoin, Ethereum base trades. We got Turtles Income Blast covering Bonk, Litecoin, and Sui. Bitwise's stablecoin and tokenization ETF. Even a T-Rex 2X.
Yeah, so they're pushing for all kinds of ETFs, not just XRP ETFs, but mostly XRP.
ETF. Folks, this is the tip of the spear. The SEC's dam is cracking, and behind it is a tidal wave of capital. Every niche corner of crypto is getting wrapped up into ETF papers. This is how Wall Street works. They don't dip their toes. They open the floodgates. And when that money comes rushing in, you don't want to be the guy standing on the sideline.
I agree with that. Exactly. They know that they can make money from this.
The signals are here. They're showing you the playbook. They're telling you what is coming. All we got to do is get through September, and October is going to be one of the most bullish months that you have ever seen in crypto, especially because we are in a bull run year. So look, September's proving the setup. October is the explosion, and XRP is standing right in the middle of it. From government stockpiles to ETFs popping up like wildfires, this isn't someday anymore. It's right now. The only question is whether, are you positioned to ride it, or are you just going to be sitting on the sidelines and watching it all happen? And if you thought today was big, wait until you see what's lining up next. I promise you folks, it is even bigger. I'm going to leave it like that. I hope you enjoyed. Look, do me a favor on your way out, hit that thumbs up button, and I'll catch all y'all a little bit later this afternoon.
I mean, that would be awesome. These ETFs that we're talking about, that's a pretty big push for the market. So yeah, there is a big chance that USA will use XRP. And that's another thing that I'm really excited for. Again, the digital assets reserve that Brad Garlinghouse is pushing for us. We didn't hear much about it, but we're finally at this point where we are hearing more news in that sense. We are at least hearing something about it.
In payments in the last 30 years is digital assets and stablecoins. We know how important this is because the Treasurer of the United States, Scott Bessent, has come out and said that the stablecoin market is going to grow multiple trillions over the next 3 years. And the US's main focus right now is getting out stablecoin legislation.
That's the thing. They're pushing regulation this year, 2025. So 2026, we could be seeing some sort of billing phase. So it's probably going to take like 2 to 3 years for XRP to even have its another push. And I'm not trying to be bearish. I'm trying to be bullish here. But it's very likely that XRP is not going to have, reach suddenly $15. The good thing here is it is going to survive even if it takes 1 to 3 years.
Which they did with the Genius Act, but also passing the Clarity Act, which gives digital asset regulation. Today, I want to look and explore Ripple's involvement in the US as well as abroad in the stablecoin market. They are going to be one of the biggest players when it comes to stablecoin technology, and financial institutions, I believe, will go to them and have them set up their infrastructure. Let's go ahead and play this to better understand where we're starting. This is back in May, but this speaks volumes of where we have come since then. Let's play it.
Different, but I think might be related, which is stablecoin. If really we went big into stablecoin in this country, what effect could that have on the strength of the dollar? Because people might have to hold dollars in order to match against it, or even for treasuries.
Well, we are going big on digital assets.
Digital assets. Again, if the government buys, who's going to be the biggest buyer? It's going to be the US government buying XRP. It's what most of these people are pushing for. And it's what I'm definitely very excited about. This is one of the key moments for XRP.
So Trump administration has made digital assets a priority. Past administration starved and almost made extinct a lot of these companies and pushed it offshore. So what we want to do is apply the highest U.S. regulatory and AML standards to digital assets, especially stable coins. And I've seen estimates that just over the short term, stable coins could create $2 trillion of demand for U.S. Treasuries and Treasury bills. To put that in context, the number is probably about 300 billion right now.
Okay, China, the UK, and Japan, those are the three biggest buyers of US debt. They haven't been that interested in buying US Treasuries recently, and that's why we've seen a spike in the overall demand for bonds currently, right? Around 5%, which is very, very high. It's making it more expensive for the US to borrow and pay down its debt. Right now, we're spending $1 trillion just on interest to service the US debt. So we do know this is an evolving problem, and stablecoins appear to be the Trump administration's solution, which is great for crypto because 99% of stablecoins around the world currently right now are in US dollars. So crypto is evolving, but the US dollar is evolving with crypto. One needs the other to be successful right now, and you are seeing a big focus on that. And you're also seeing the global push, not just here in the United States, but in Europe, in Japan, in Africa.
That's one thing that XRP has a big potential, is this global push we've been talking about. So partners with Human.io to enhance Euro native on-chain finance on XRP Ledger. This partnership will empower our upcoming financial super app and neobank to serve consumers and businesses seamlessly. So yeah, I'm definitely excited for that. Again, everything is about stablecoins right now. That's what they're pushing for.
With Human.io to enhance Euro native on-chain finance on the XRP Ledger. This partnership will empower our upcoming financial super app and neobank to serve consumers and businesses seamlessly. So here is the article. We talked about this in previous videos. Human Financial to enhance Euro native on-chain finance on the XRP Ledger, introducing Europe as a regulated MiCA compliant stablecoin. This partnership leverages the XRP Ledger's fast, low-cost settlements and mature DEX DeFi primitives, empowering unknown DEX and our upcoming neobank to serve consumers and businesses seamlessly. With Europe, users will enjoy instant on-chain Euro transfers, direct deposits in Euro via virtual IBANs, and instant payouts to bank accounts. Europe facilitates rapid pay-ins and payouts, connecting bank rails to the XRP Ledger for a frictionless experience.
So yeah, XRP Ledger has always been building. So this is just another of the many partnerships we're probably going to be seeing in the next few years. Provide liquidity in seconds via DEX, Anodos Finance, and SwapX. They don't like Ledger, which, you know, is from XRP, have huge updates in the past few days or years. Anyway, that's the big thing I'm hoping for. Like, XRP has been pushing to make their chain best as possible with 900 employees.
Right. And so any financial institution that wants to catch up, right? Remember, if you are a bank and a financial institution and you haven't been working on digital asset infrastructure like JP Morgan and Citibank and Bank of America, then you are behind the 8 ball, right? You are very far behind when it comes to the bigger institutions. And if you don't want those bigger institutions to gain all of this market share and you want to step up, the fastest way you can do that is to go to Ripple or to a Circle and ask them to build a stablecoin using
So yeah, they're just gonna build all these products for them instead.
The infrastructure, and you're starting to see some insane benefits here. This is Soil plus Ripple earns 7% on RLUSD. 7%. Here's Brad Garlinghouse with the Soil team. Just to give you some additional context, Soil is a regulated DeFi lending protocol that bridges real-world assets and stablecoin yield, while its partnership with Ripple leverages the XRP Ledger institutional grade compliant yield on RLUSD and broad crypto integration. Soil operates a blockchain-based debt marketplace, allowing companies, preliminary small to medium enterprises to access financing, while investors can lend stablecoins to earn yield backed by real-world assets. The yield comes from loans managed off-chain by private debt funds, making Soil unique in connecting traditional finance liquidity and crypto returns. Soil is fully regulated with a strong focus in the EU. Are you noticing a trend here? And then here is, this has always been the plan for Ripple. Over the last few years, they've gone into meetings, they've gone into boardrooms, and
so they've been building this up for the last 10 years. They literally have been building this type of plan in 10 years' time.
They said we need a highly regulated stablecoin to move value either domestically or internationally. They don't want to use Tether because of all of the issues Tether comes with, right? We don't know if they have the money, if they don't have the money. Did anybody pay for an audit recently? No. Wait, we don't have the 5 or 10 million? We have billions. Wait, we have billions, but we won't buy an audit. What's going on there? The conversation Bo Hines is having at Tether, right? First day, hey guys.
So yeah, Tether has confirmed that they wanna, when I read news about this, why, for example, this stablecoin doesn't go for Euro partnerships, their statement was because they wanna hold US stocks, US assets instead of European, which they need to hold like 40 or 50% if they want to be backed. And that's the main reason why they are working in a different way. So it's very important that XRP is having a completely different plan than Tether.
Crypto asset to facilitate the cross-border movement of money. So in the old correspondent banking model, you have to pre-fund accounts if you want to send money from one country to another. We avoid that, which potentially frees up trillions of dollars stored in what are called Nostro accounts within the correspondent banking model. We do that by transferring money, say in the US, from US dollars to XRP into, say, Mexican pesos at the other end. And that's all done pretty much instantly versus the old correspondent banking model. So that's the sort of Ripple net side of things.
All right, you see how you have the CNY, the Real, the Euro. Help me out there. What's CHF? Look, Mexican.
That's the Czechs, basically, and that's the Japanese yen. So XRP is trying to be asset on every single thing, on every single platform.
Peso, US dollar, Japanese yen, they're all connected in here, and they will all bridge in and out of XRP as the neutral bridge asset for the world. That is the end use case. And even Gary Gensler knows how important stablecoins are.
That in seconds, it won't move as much. And the friction will be that you have to sell dollars to buy XRP and then sell XRP to buy peso, or you can interpose any bridge currency. One of the most significant opportunities for stable value tokens that we'll talk about in a few classes is what we can call it as a bridge currency for cross-border.
Question, what is the best bridge asset in the digital asset space with more institutional connections to financial institutions as well as central banks around the world? Which is that? Oh yeah, it's XRP. It's not Bitcoin.
So yeah, XRP is just trying to lead worldwide. Even if they get just 1% of worldwide transactions, that is going to be a very big portion of people coming in and basically doubling down on it, as you say.
It's not Ethereum. It's definitely not Solana. It is XRP. Monica Long. Monica Long explains why Ripple did launch a stablecoin.
So really, it was just recognition that, wow, this is a really big opportunity. There's going to be more and more demand for payments through US dollar stablecoins. Being a provider to companies of that service, it would make sense that we launch our own. And, also a recognition that the stablecoin market has been growing and it's going to balloon even more, especially seeing RWA tokenization on the horizon. It's going to only drive more and more demand for stablecoins.
Vet says, interesting fact, Bitstamp has the following stablecoins already issued on the XRP ledger: USD, Euro, Japanese yen, Great British Pound, Australian dollar, I believe that is, and CHF. Someone's going to roast me down in the comments for not knowing that currency. I do apologize.
So the reason why we're going so big on XRP ledger and the stablecoins is because the governments are literally pushing to use it. The governments want to see XRP and all these projects use digital stablecoins because they're fast to use and easy to transfer. They're going to be like 0.01. And you can see they already transferred 5 million, 350 billion. Again, it's in testing stages, and this shows you how strong XRP ledger actually is.
But yes, Robinhood, we're
accelerating Robinhood's worldwide. Robinhood is officially entering into agreement to acquire Bitstamp. I mean, this is a huge move from them. And it just tells me how much money there is in the crypto market, because this might have been one of the most expensive deals ever yet.
Celebrating Robinhood's crypto worldwide expansion, Robinhood has officially entered into an agreement to acquire Bitstamp. We know Bitstamp's infrastructure, XRP Ledger. Robinhood has access to that now. Robinhood has been building on Ethereum though as well. I'd imagine they want to be in two places at once. I went over this a while ago when this information was new. Just want to show you this really quickly. Two stable coins just launched on the XRP Ledger. You have Europe and USD USDB, which is a US dollar-backed Braza Group stablecoin. We talked a lot about the Schumann Financial. If you want to go ahead and pause the video and take a look at this, please do so. I want to get here to the Braza Group one. Expected to be MiCA regulated in 2025, fully backed and denominated assets, dollar-backed denominated assets, reserves held by Braza Bank, Banco de Cambio SA, and you have a bank license and regulatory by the Brazilian Central Bank. Ripple has gone to the Brazilian Central Bank. They've met with the Brazilian Central Bank, and they know that they can get money in and out of Brazil much cheaper using Ripple's technology.
That's the thing. A lot of Ripple, it cost a lot for Ripple to build this type of technology and connections. They had to even have a huge lawsuit, and now they're just going to sell it to countries, companies, and they're making that money back. They don't need to sell assets anymore. They didn't need to sell XRP tokens. Why would they? They have now a profitable company, and they have, you know, lots of XRP they're holding. But with a lot of projects, they would sell those coins. They don't need to do that at all.
Some information about the issuer behind Europe, Schumann Financial, as we talked about, and here's the people that are in control over there. Braza Group consists of a consortium of various companies that govern USDB.
That's so nice, though. Braza Group consists of consortium of various companies. Again, a lot of these countries that, you know, most people don't know about have doubled down on XRP because it's much cheaper for them to use it. So they're going to profit off that, and it's going to be a great win for them.
The crypto, Braza Bank, Braza UK, bringing the world together, issuing and burning USDBs, custodian of the USDB reserves, custodian of the tokens held at Braza's clients in Europe. And then, of course, multi-signature is, you know, the tech here that is being used. Of course, multi-signature on the Brazilian one. Tech compliance, clawback got set up initially to give them permanent ability to react to sanctioned accounts. Clawback is if you've ever bought something on Amazon or a store and you had to return it, you need to be able to claw that money back to get a return. This is what has been set up on the XRP ledger, because if you're going to do international transactions and you're going to have all of these things happening, if a transaction is sent that it becomes illegal, you need to be able to get that money back. Or if we do returns and things like that, if we're starting to have e-commerce and infrastructure using crypto to buy things, right? Like using stable coins to shop at Amazon, to shop at Walmart, to shop at Target, whatever it is, your favorite store, I don't know, put that into whatever the blank is there, but you're going to be able to get that money back if you need.
That's where the fast transfers come in and really help out, right? Clawback is enabled and tokens have already been issued to send out a pre-empty account in general. Again, at very early stages for XRP Ledger, might take a few years to set up. Well, once it's done, imagine the growth, you know, you could have for Ledger itself.
It talks about clawbacks, transparency, it talks about life cycle of this as well, how this all works, reserve issuance.
By today, I'm not too sure it's preaching to the choir. Again, yeah, it's pretty clear, but a lot of people aren't aware of that, you know, Jerome Powell is meeting us today, and that's what's really gonna push it through.
Market making, distribution, and use cases. And just, I mean, there's so much cool stuff happening here. All right. A guy on the left made a video, said it was between CBDCs or stablecoins. Is XRP either of those? Let me play this real quick, 24 seconds.
We've seen it that have been lacking. As long as those guardrails are in place, then I think the regulators should be, you know, central banks should be pretty agnostic about who's going to actually win the race, whether it be a CBDC or a stablecoin or some other kind of instrument. But right now, we don't have a safe regime in the cryptocurrency base, and we need to get that first before we can actually run it.
You don't have a safe regime until Ripple stepped up and gave you something safe. And you start to look at, like, what is XRP doing right now as we expand, as institutional interest starting to come in, as all of these different features are being added to the XRP ledger for international transactions or domestic payments. Banks need all of this stuff to make it make sense, and it's all happening. Look at the XRP ledger pair specifically. Coinbase is coming in hot with USD directly, not a stable coin like Tether. You can see there's just a ton of interest right now for XRP global.
I mean, especially in Korea, there's a very big market for XRP, so I do agree with that. You can just see the volume is absolutely leaking out there. And there was a big supply shock, you know, talking about how rare it's becoming.
And the volume spot data analysis is heating up on Upbit, Bybit, Coinbase, Binance, Crypto.com, and so much more. And here's Scott Bissett to close us out.
And I'm here to assure you that we're going to work with the controller of the currency, the IRS, and we're going to rescind and amend all applicable previous guidance. And we are going to put a lot of thought into the stablecoin regime. And as President Trump has directed, we are going to keep the the U.S. the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we will use stable coins to do that.
The real question is, the US's plan here is to have other countries use US technology. And you start to wonder,
I feel like they also want people to use US dollar, which XRP Ledger, is going to enable people to buy US dollar on the chain, which is another big hit.
Ethereum is based out of Switzerland, I believe. Bitcoin, we don't know who the creators of Bitcoin are, so it's definitely, we can't say that it's an American technology, and banks and institutions are not using Bitcoin for any of this stuff. Doesn't have the KYC and AML and anti-terrorism checks. It doesn't have any of this stuff baked into it. And
it's also super expensive, right, to run it. That's another thing. It is super expensive to run crypto itself, like Bitcoin, to send a transaction.
So you start to look like a company, Ripple, blockchain infrastructure in America that other countries already trust. What do you think they're going to choose? It's going to be their decision at the end of the day. And if the US's infrastructure is set up, with capabilities using the XRP ledger, and other countries are also comfortable with using, because they tested it and they pilot it and they know the people at Ripple, they see Brad Garlinghouse, they say, man, that guy's professional as heck, right? You start to look at some of these other CEOs and you're like, they're not going to be choosing that person to help with their infrastructure. Anyways, this is all heading towards a multi-trillion-dollar stablecoin market. I believe a lot of it is going to live on the XRP ledger with our LUSD, and every expansion of every other stablecoin that gets created on the XRP ledger will be able to interchange with every other currency. That is why the XRP ledger is so special. This is why I own XRP. By owning,
I mean, do you know any other project that has a ledger like that that's potentially worth $1 billion, not even $1 million? And there was already offers to buy up XRP as the company. And yet, XRP did not want to sell themselves out. They already got a price offer from their competitors a few times. And they keep on building. It's a pretty amazing story. That's for another video, though. Did they just confirm a $32 XRP? I mean, like, there's Trump in the thumbnail. I love this guy, Crypto Sensei. He's been pretty spot on a lot of stuff. And he's really diving deep on XRP as well.
Related news and information. Let's start here. BlackRock's Robbie Mitchnick has predicted a range between $6 and $32 for XRP based on legitimate value propositions. I added these two prices to the XRP rich list so you can see what your portfolio would be worth if we hit these prices. And so here is $5 and $32 and how much XRP people own. If you are in the top, maybe like 10% here, owning 2,300 XRP, you'd have about 75 grand. Of course, not earth shattering. If you are in the top 3 or 2%.
So yeah, top 3% owns 1.6 M in the future, but right now they own 141,000. So they used to own 11,000. So that's what I'm telling you guys about, to not compare the old prices of XRP, because the issue is you're comparing to literally when people had, you were top 1% if you had $750. You were top 1% of XRP. Now you need $60,000. So actually 160,000. So that's why you shouldn't compare when XRP was 11 cents. You were 11,000. You were top 1%. Don't feel too shy in that way. Imagine $32 is going to be amazing. I feel like there's going to be plenty of more holders and this data might change. But just looking at it, I don't look at 2017 data because it keeps on changing. But $32 is not that crazy to not hit. Again, it's going to take a few cycles, might take up to 8 years, might take 12 years. But it's a bit to say what is the correct outcome that we should buy. I'm not too sure because anything could happen at this point. Like, the interest rate cuts, the ETFs, October and November is what I'm really bullish on.
You're talking about 500,000, 800,000, top 1%, only 50,000 XRP, 1.6 million. Obviously, people are hoping for higher numbers, but this is what the projections are. Here is that information.
Haven't BlackRock filed for a kind of XRP ETF? And is there any links between perhaps BlackRock and XRP and Ripple? And of course, there is, in the form of Robbie Mitchnick, who is the managing director at BlackRock. His official role is head of digital assets at BlackRock. He's been there since 2018. So after he left Ripple, at the same time he published this report to obviously the present day. I mean, he's a very impressive individual, which we'll look at in this one. So, $28,000 compressed to trading ranges of $600 to $900 year to date at the time of publishing. So they actually think Bitcoin was undervalued back then. Now on to XRP, which you all want. And yes, you've seen that correctly. XRP's high estimate given in this paper by Robbie Mitchnick is $32.91. Yes, that's right. $32.91 was given.
So these are just estimations, but if that happens, that would be very nice. Like $32. We're still far away from that, though.
As a high estimate price prediction for XRP by BlackRock's head of digital assets. This is worth listening to me read to get to this point. Their low estimate is $6.37.
I mean, pretty much we're so close to $6.37. It's not that scary. A lot of people are saying, oh, we're never going to get to $6. We are $3. And we saw, in 3 months, XRP changed so much overnight.
Still 2x plus where we are today. This represents the potential value of XRP in the present value terms. If the success case is realized as a final step, we need to convert this into an expected value based on our simplistic binary model of outcomes. We assign a 25% probability to the XRP success case and assume XRP was effectively worthless with the XRP fail case. Therefore, and this brings it right down, the resulting fundamental value range of between $1.59 to $8.23 compared to the trading range of $0.49 to $3.72 year to date at the time of pushing. So the fundamental value range they're giving you is this, when they've factored in their case, which they're giving a 25% probability to. But the fact of the matter is that...
So 25% to get $32, $33 would be amazing, in my opinion.
They have given a high estimate of $32.91 here for XRP based on it being successful.
Is anybody thinking the same thing I'm thinking, right? As he's talking, what does it say at the right here? June 2018. This is at least 7 to 8 years old. At least, right? Let's just say it's June 18th when this whole thing was written. It didn't take him weeks or days or months to write it. It came out, he started writing it in June. It came out in June. It's over 7 years old. How much stuff has happened over the last 7 years, right? We didn't even have ETF demand. This is not even including any of that. We didn't have CBDC demand, right?
So that was an old document. Again, this is telling me why I shouldn't look at these price predictions, because there's going to be a lot more. What if the US government decides to buy $2 billion of XRP? You never know. That's why I don't look at those, estimates or algorithm or AI predictions, because they don't matter. So much stuff can change just in 1 to 3 days that you can literally change it forever.
Right? We didn't have private ledgers. We didn't have a lot. So I would have added some additional context on this clip saying, hey, yes, there's these prices, but it's for 2018. Can we get an updated information, please, sir? Okay. Hey, all good, man. I guess, you're trying to make content. You go out and you make it. One more time. XRP Ledger just hit $1,000. What's your next move? What is your next move? Besides a car, a house, something nice for your loved one, vacation, maybe helping out your favorite charity. What are you doing with all that new money? Where are you going? I might need some ideas here. Me personally, I would like to, of course, help out my family. My wife and I would probably buy a new condo here in Hawaii and maybe a house somewhere else. Maybe I get a nice flashy car, but I think about where am I going to put this money and how am I going to save it? And how am I going to how am I going to 10x this money, right? That's what I'll be thinking, Mike. Let me know what you're going to do. And why does Uphold keep hinting at $1,000 XRP? Man, Uphold and Jake Claver, they must be talking in the background hey, I'm gonna hit him with the $1,000 prediction. You do it next week. All right, let's do it, guys. I don't know, man. Uphold frequently hints at $1,000 XRP as the way to spark community engagement. Oh, they're just trolling us. Great. And excitement. I'm excited. But these posts...
So each time Uphold posts about $1,000 XRP, it generates intense discussion, driving huge impression interaction on social media. Again, if you post that this is going to go to $1,000, a lot of people are expecting that to be real. But XRP $1,000 is not real, in my opinion. It's not going to happen. The thing is, people are saying, oh, of course it's going to do that. Yeah, it's going to happen. No, it's just for hype. It's just for a community type of way.
Posts are not price predictions. They're hypothetical prompts that play into long-standing speculation within the XRP community. The $1,000 milestone has become kind of like a meme and a dream scenario for holders. Fair enough. Fair enough, Uphold. And then the Kwok brothers' vision for $1,000 XRP by 2030, 20 to 50 by 2026 isn't a dream. It's a warm-up round. Now, the reason also when you're talking about this Robbie Mitchnick 2018, you didn't have the EVM sidechain. You didn't have all of these new developers coming in. You didn't have Flare. You didn't have Midnight. You didn't have these DeFi layers being built out. You didn't have basically 2 or 3 billion XRP left on exchanges right now.
And there's also a big supply shock, right, of XRP. There's a big whale buying all of exchange supplies, which basically means they're gonna, there's a very low supply on there, which keeps a lot of people very happy in that way. Smash that like button, guys, if you haven't already. I really appreciate that. But yeah, that's what we're hoping for, is we're seeing the exact movements of $32. Like $1,000, we're still far from it because I feel a lot of whales would sell. But $32, I mean, 1-2 cycles, if we already got from 20 cents to $3 with so much money in the market, who says it can't be possible? But first we gotta, if you want to get to $32, first you gotta hit $6, $5.
Play into long-standing speculation within the XRP community. The $1,000 milestone has become kind of like a meme and a dream scenario for holders. Fair enough, Uphold. And then the Kwok brothers' vision for $1,000 XRP by 2030, 20 to 50 by 2026 isn't a dream. It's a warm-up round. Now, the reason also when you're talking about this Robbie Mitchnick 2018, you didn't have the EVM sidechain. You didn't have all of these new developers coming in. You didn't have Flare. You didn't have Midnight. You didn't have these DeFi layers being built out. You didn't have, basically 2 or 3 billion XRP left on exchanges right now. You didn't have all the ETF demand. There are a wall of things that are going to just mollywop these predictions, in my opinion. But we'll see. You guys let me know what you think. Unknown DLT says if XRP ETFs are approved at the same time in October, they will push the price to such high that institutions will be able to use it for settlement mechanism just before the global implementation of ISO 20022. You are not prepared for what is coming. And just to give you some additional context on this, US SEC schedule to rule on multiple ETFs October 18th through the 25th. If approved, XRP would join Bitcoin and Ethereum with the only cryptocurrencies in the US with regulated ETF products. Firms with filings reported include Bitwise, 21 Shares, WisdomTree, CoinShares.
Again, these are all ETFs companies that are going for XRP ETFs.
Canary Capital, Franklin Templeton, and Grayscale. Remember, Carry Capital, Mark McClug believes $5 billion could go into spot XRP ETFs in the first month. $5 billion at current prices obviously would be over $1 billion XRP, $1.5 billion XRP bought off exchanges. There's only 2 or 3 billion left on exchanges. What are they going to be buying after that? Right? If we get 20, 30 billion, the price obviously.
I mean, if you get 20 to 30 billion, I'm pretty sure some whales will sell at that point. Like, yeah, you can get to 30 billion, but a lot of the whales will end up selling this. The ETFs, though, they're pushing for this, new wave of to break this barrier. XRP is in a small market dip, as you can call it, but they're really trying to go ahead and push 10 times down on it.
Is going to have to keep going up. I got what's it called? K-pop Demon Hunters in my head. I do apologize. Some market competitors believe approval could drive significant institutional inflows, trigger a major rally. Price predictions from $10 to $50 by end of year through mainstream. And
I mean, these ETFs, they are like our best hope right now.
Analysis, caution over hyped expectations, always a good thing. Despite ETF excitement, some financial firms and analysts note that the modest institutional capital has entered XRP so far in 2025, and price surges are not guaranteed. Talks about ISO implementation, ISO 20022, a global financial link standard. Messaging has been adopted by banks and payment networks worldwide to modernize and standardize payments. For U.S. banks, Fedwire ISO 20022 went live July 14, 2025. Fedwire does process 4.3 trillion dollars a day. The full global SWIFT transition to ISO 20022 is scheduled for November 2025, pushing institutions globally to comply. XRP and Ripple have positioned themselves to take advantage of this new standard for instant, data-rich cross-border payments, already serving banks like BBVA, a 700.
So yeah, this partnerships, this is what we are pushing for. Again, as I've been saying on this channel, guys, if you are new, a partnership a day really brings XRP together. It's really what makes it stand out. There's a lot of great projects just like XRP. The issue with them, YouTubers have been talking about it, I have not, is they cannot sustain the type of commitment that XRP has. XRP can withhold like 10 years without selling their tokens, like at this point, if they're still profitable. While other companies, they do not have those connections. They do not have those partnerships. So they're not going to, just suddenly get that money and a type of hype like 100 billion market cap like XRP.
172 billion Eurobank, Travelex Bank and others. The ETF decision window coinciding with the ISO 20022 global migration has fueled for further speculation. Regulatory green lights are meant to support global payment system upgrades. It does talk a little bit about the thing. And then you start to wonder, does Trump know something, right? He keeps hinting, but he probably wouldn't be hinting at the thing that they're really going to do, right? He's gonna distract you. Most politicians, presidents are very good at the distraction. If you're going to be...
Yeah, so digital assets, they already were talking about it. They're hinting about it, and now they're doubling down on it.
Adopting a technology, the last thing you want to do is have a ton of people pile into it before it's adopted. So you tell them something else.
Who knows, maybe we'll pay off our 35.
Back into the market when it dips. Why the price don't go up, even good news. That's because it doesn't have that big push yet. Like, why, if there's no new buyers and only one whale is buying and one whale is selling, of course the price is not going to go up.
$1 trillion, hand them a little crypto check, right? We'll hand them a little Bitcoin and wipe out our $35 trillion.
But how do you want it to be more prominent in America? How will that work?
Oh, it's going to work easily. It's already prominent. It's moving along. It's very loosely regulated. That's one of the reasons it's moving along. But it is a different form of a currency, and it's going to end up benefiting the country. But if we shut it down, like, Biden's trying to shut it down, Biden doesn't have the intellect to shut it down. Can you imagine this guy's telling you to shut something down like that? He has no idea what the hell it is. But if we don't embrace it, it's going to be embraced by other people. It's a massive thing already. Did you read where it's big?
All right. And of course, Simon McLaughlin says...
So listed among the biggest XRP holders, this just confirms that, the thing with XRP right now is what we are seeing is the big institutions are holding, I would say at least the majority of XRP. That's because they are preparing to sell it off later. At least that's my opinion, right? It could crash. But it's very clear at this point what's going on. Is they're investing into the future.
Most of the XRP listed on Uphold is customer assets. They don't belong to Uphold. There's not a lot of XRP left on exchanges, guys. This is where price appreciation can really come in. The post highlights how centralized exchanges like Uphold often appear on lists of large XRP holders, but the assets shown are owned by exchange customers.
Hasn't there been companies buying small supply of Ripple itself? I also saw that.
Customers, not the company.
They have also been buying some of the stocks
itself. Simon McLaughlin, Uphold CEO, is emphasizing that the exchange large on-chain balance of XRP reflects customer trust and custodianship, not speculation and company holdings. Where's this going to take us over the next few years? I'm excited. I think we are well positioned to take advantage of this transformation in global finance. And XRP.
All right, so let's say XRP, Brad rejected an DC Powell ready to cut. Again, we do have some bad news about Brad Garlinghouse. Smash that like button if you haven't already. But again, we are looking, Federal Reserve set to resume interest rates cuts to concern over labor market. I think it's 1:50 USA time. So 7:50. Okay, we're going to see what happens with the interest rate cuts. September policy meeting on Wednesday. So this is probably, once this video is out, it's probably already here. I'm going to be watching it live. But yeah, the interest rate cuts is really what's pushing crypto forward. And it's going to not really affect the price as much as XRP ETFs.
This is from Andre Dragosh, head of research at Europe's Bitwise Investments. He said the percentage shares of Bitcoin performance explained by changes in ETP flows, oh, interesting, has reached an all-new time high. He says there appears to be a re-rotation. Nice. What do we got going on? Well, we talked about it a little bit. Jerome overcooking the turkey. Here's the issue. If Jerome cuts, whether he cuts a 50 or a 25, if we're headed towards a recession and if we're headed towards a market collapse because businesses are going to lay off a shit ton of people, dude.
I mean, that's the thing. If there is unemployment rate going higher, which there is, it's exactly what we're seeing. We're getting more interest rate cuts. And if the economy gets worse, again, or more people are let go, it's going to be another interest rate. As long as the unemployment is low, that means the markets will keep improving. And this has happened during the golden age of USA. There was no recession, and I'm hoping that happens again. Again, who knows? 2026, I feel like is going to be less hype than it is right now, but let's just hope for the best. So the 10th Senate Banking Committee Roundtable on Crypto Legislation, like all of these, even Brad Garlinghouse is pushing for crypto regulation at this point.
Gets invited to the party. Eleanor Tourette's got some news for us. Her information is linked down below. It says new. As Republican and Democrat senators continue talks on market structure legislation, obviously we're not getting regs this month, a group of leaders from several major crypto firms is set to meet tomorrow morning with Senate Banking Committee leadership in a roundtable. Nice. This meeting follows more than a week of industry review of the committee's latest approach to distinguishing securities from commodities. Why haven't you done this whole time? Why are you waiting until now, September 17th, to do this? We know the problem of determining what's a security, what's a commodity, what's a currency has been a problem facing crypto for years.
I agree with that. I feel like the issue with XRP is regulation, or there's no regulation at all. So until they can actually sell big portions and exchanges, they have to first focus on what the task is at hand, and that is actually getting crypto out there. Look at this. They have actually to do the stuff here, like the regulation part.
And you want to have a talk about it now? Yo, the government should work with Powell. Actually, the government should hire Powell, because Powell is always late to the party and the government always overpromises and under-delivers. So Charles finally got a seat.
I feel like that's been not really the case point here. The economy has only been getting better and better. Like, look at Ripple. It wouldn't be here today if they wouldn't get all this regulation approved.
Futures. Then he comes out on the 15th with this. U.S. small businesses and veterans embody resilience and opportunity through Ripple's 25 million RLUSD commitment to a Coin Opportunity Fund and Hiring Heroes USA. We're helping expand access to capital, training, and careers. Cool. Philanthropy. Like it. Ecosystem doesn't help it at all, does it? No, it doesn't. No. So Brad's been super quiet here these last 2 weeks. Is Brad quiet because he knows that there's something going on with regs? Is there something going on that he's been tied up with that we haven't?
I feel like when you're a CEO of the biggest company, there's gonna be responsibilities, and you can't always check Twitter. That's the thing. Like, Brad is a pretty busy person. He comes back and reveals like a big deal to everyone later on. So there's that.
He's a bit more active on the socials. In fact, not only is he a bit more active, he's a bit more vocal in the news in general, doing interviews, attending things.
Like, finally, Ripple lawsuit is over, where it means he can actually double down on everything about crypto.
But yo, Brad's been quiet. This means something big is coming for XRP. Volume for the crypto market is $151 billion. Fear and greed, we're at 51, so we're stuck dead center neutral. We're holding our prices where we should, leading up into the Federal Reserve meeting. BNB's at 952. ETH is holding strong at 4,500. Bitcoin's at 116,000. XRP's volume off. Why is it off? Dude, people need to know what is going on with rates. And they also need to know, well, wait a minute, do we have to start paying attention to the...
I mean, the rates are pretty certain at this point. The rates are going to get cut. But I'm still afraid. Is BlackRock ever going to list XRP ETF, which is most of the pump or most of the fun we're seeing here? So yeah, just imagine, like, the XRP ETFs are way more important than the rate cuts we will have.
Jobs reports, because if layoffs, mass layoffs are going to be a thing, who gives a shit what the rates are? Everyone's going to be worried about losing their jobs. And if you're worried about losing your job, what's the first thing you do? You stop spending as much. So if you stop spending as much, that means business revenue goes down. And when business revenue goes down because people stop spending as much, what do businesses do? They lay off more people. Oh, and that becomes a vicious cycle. XRP sitting at $3.02, volume at 4.47 billion. Basically what you've seen is this. After the big little profit-taking move above...
That's what I told you guys. The whales are going to take profit from $3.66 to $3. It's a lot of money for them.
$3.15 right here. We've bounced right around that friend zone of $3. I told you we would basically hold sideways until the Federal...
I told you guys that the support level will be $3. And here we are, because the whales, they want to sell at this price point. It's a lot of money for them.
Reserve meeting, and the announcement happens at 2 p.m. Eastern today. We're going to be live streaming that. This one, I've got no clue. I personally think he's going to pause because that's what he's done his whole freaking life. Most of you think he's going to cut, though. We're going to find out. Now, that being said, XRP, we're going to be watching the charts as the FOMC meeting happens and as he talks. The rate decision will be very important. Like I said, it's at 2 p.m. Jerome Powell then goes on the mic at 2:30. That is big, because when he starts talking, that's when the market really wrecks. You can literally follow the candlesticks of XRP as Powell takes to the mic. So right now, looking at XRP, $3 floor is strong. But are we going to sell off on Powell?
I mean, this is the thing. People are asking me to buy. I would just, personally, I'm just going to wait and see what happens until September, October. $3, it could go either way. It's very, very concerning, because we could go both ways here. We could either see a huge momentum up, or we could just keep going sideways.
Pausing? Will we move? I honestly think, hey, if he cuts it a quarter, we've already priced in the action. Yeah, I think what you're seeing up on the screen right now, price-wise, is the market giving us that quarter we were looking for. He gives us a 50. Well, he's sending mixed signals. A, the market may do a short-term rally, but B, the market will go, oh shit, the reason you're doing a 50 is because you overcooked the bird and you screwed up the jobs market, you asshole. Between you and Saylor, you're really fucking up my September 17th.
I feel like I don't quite agree with him, because September has been very much known to be like this in the markets. So it's very obvious that Septembers are always like this. It's not that scary as people are saying. Like, a lot of people are saying, well, September sucks. It does. It does post-halving. But this doesn't mean that we are going to be seeing another dump. Again, October, December, the best months for crypto are around the corner. So $100 XRP final destination.
$100
I mean, $100 XRP would literally make a lot of people millionaires overnight.
XRP final destination. Folks, I figured I'd make a quick video here, tell a little story on our trip up to Seaside, Oregon. We are coming to you live from the beach, and it is a little bit breezy out here, so hopefully you can still hear me loud and clear. I hope you guys are doing well out there. And I just wanted to make a quick video because it seems that most of the XRP community agrees that XRP is going to $100 or even $1,000 per XRP. And if that is the case,
I mean, $100 XRP, again, if that means like even $10 to $100, it would be a massive amount of money. Just a major amount that is going to change people's lives. But again, who's going to fund to get to $100? Like the whales, the institutions? Yeah, sure. But you're also going to see big whales be billionaires and probably sell some of it off. So the path to $100 is still far away, my friends.
Why are we letting this short-term price action bother us and really, hit us emotionally on a day-to-day basis? If we're not day trading, if we're not swing trading, if you're not trading futures, I, provide updates on my futures trades, and I am long XRP, and so I keep up on the day-to-day price action. But for so many folks, I see they let the daily price swings impact your mood in your life. And if we're in agreement that XRP's final destination is 100 or 1,000, why are we worried? And the reason why I was thinking about this is because yesterday we were cruising up. We were down in Eugene, Oregon, and we're taking a road trip up the coast, which was absolutely gorgeous. And we were heading here to Seaside, Oregon. I want to give you guys a quick shot.
So yeah,
we were just out with the family, have a heck of a time. But on the way there, which was about a 3.5 to 4 hour road trip, We did stop in the sea lion caves along the way, even though the sea lions were...
I wonder if he talks like to XRP with his family, like, that's true freedom.
are the ones that are kicking and screaming, throwing a temper tantrum, you know, on the road trip. There's a little accident. You got to pull over, take a break, regroup, and then you keep on going towards that final destination. And I compare that with these market pullbacks that we see, whether it be, you know, the big FTX crashes or even just the small pullbacks, right?
I mean, XRP from $3.6 to $3 isn't like even a pullback, it's a correction. We all kind of expected people to take profits, take their money out.
Just a little speed bump along the way to your final destination, which I firmly believe it is inevitable that XRP is going to a $100 price. I even think it could go to a lot higher prices, but just base case conservative, if we're only halfway right, or, you know, even less about this whole XRP situation, XRP is on its way to a much, much higher price, well into double digits with ease, just based off the ETF inflows. And you guys see this week, we got an ETF going live through that's the Securities Act 40, the Securities Act of 1940. And so it was a little workaround that Rex Osprey did. And this is what Wall Street does, right? And I wanted to make a point real quick before I get back to the beach with the family. Please note the workarounds that Wall Street is taking to be able to list that XRP spot ETF, right? This Rex Osprey ETF that's set to go live on Thursday. Perfect timing, right as we're set to get a rate cut from Jerome Powell tomorrow. We'll get rate cut, first XRP spot ETF. Of course, they got a Doge ETF going live same day. But the point being, Wall Street is jumping at the guns here, jumping here to get to selling.
We're really kind of waiting for institutional to buy in, to get XRP to $5, $6. ETFs first, then let's push for $5, right? Because at the current rate, it's not like 2021 where we have tons of retail investors. It's not the same path.
XRP spot ETF.
It's going to be a different path. We need institutions to buy in. That's the end of story, in my opinion. The ETFs, that's what's really saving us here.
ETFs as soon as possible. This Securities Act of 1940, little workaround for Rex Osprey. And then we have over half a dozen more spot XRP ETFs set to go live in October. But the race is on. And I just wanted to make this, video, make this note, because price action was downwards, sideways, and consolidating since our July all-time high for XRP at $3.66.
I mean, when you look in the market, 3 months is really not that much for the XRP. It's just a recovery phase, in my opinion. Of course, right now, even that we're above $3 is extremely bullish for me.
Since this thing's been chopping, consolidating, the community's wore out, the summer slowdown, and just like the tide comes in and goes out, the tide, the liquidity that we're about to see coming into this space, I asked Grok last night, final point. I asked Grok what are the top Securities Act 40 ETFs in existence, and the S&P 500 is the top one. BlackRock's S&P 500 is the second best. But down on the list, it does note this Rex Osprey ETF could be a big one, and it specifically cited inflows between 150 million to 20 billion in inflows, which is what the Grayscale Bitcoin ETF got. And so they said there could be an initial surge, was the word that they used. A swell, you could say, right? Of up to 20 billion in inflows into the spot XRP ETFs. And they were just talking, wind picked up a little bit on me.
What's with the wind? But yeah.
$100, $1,000 XRP.
Yeah, so a lot of people are saying, yes, this is going to push $100, $1,000. I'm not too sure why people are talking about 100 and 1,000 when we haven't even pushed, $5 yet. So that's my biggest concern with XRP right now. A lot of people are praying for $100. That would be amazing, right? If we woke up and it's $100, but not even Bitcoin can do that. Not even Bitcoin did that in its history, unless it was very early stages.
And by the way, real quick, I forgot to mention, Mark Kohler invited us to a special 3-hour crypto tax summit tomorrow. He sent me a special personal message for myself and our community. And so I shared that out with the Discord group, with Patreon, and I also put the post out on X. I'll try to link it up down below in this video. It's free, 3 hours, 9 strategies, going over everything that we went over in the call last month with Mark Kohler, as far as legal estate planning when it comes to crypto, saving on taxes. Mark Kohler and his team, they are actually working on my family's trust as we speak.
So yeah, pretty good news overall. XRP just in approved and rejected. So yeah, this is something I'm interested in.
Well, Buttercup.
So yeah, approved and rejected drops tomorrow. So Wednesday is going to be the biggest news we have for XRP with the Jerome Powell update.
1.3%. Ethereum coming in at 4,494. It's about to be neutral on the day in XRP. It's coming in at $3.05. It's currently up 2% in the past 24 hours. Total cryptocurrency market cap climbs back above 4 trillion. Then we get this. This is very, very interesting. Eric Trump has hinted at mystery country scooped up over 200,000.
So yeah, mystery country may have 200,000 Bitcoin worth 22 billion without telling anyone. That's a lot of money, right? And we're actually pushing for digital asset XRP. Who knows? They might buy XRP as well.
Bitcoin, folks, that's $22 billion. I'll do the math for you. Now think about this, like Costco hoarding all the toilet paper before a storm. If you walk into the store the next day and the shelves are empty, what happened? Well, people panic. Prices spike and everyone realizes that the game just changed. A country buying this much Bitcoin, it's not an investment, it's a strategy. It's like a nation stocking up on oil reserves before announcing an energy shortage. And here's the kicker. They did it quietly. That's not bullish. That's nation state adoption. And if
I mean, literally a country buying crypto, there's nothing more bullish than that. When they announce it, expect what happens when USA goes for XRP, which I think will definitely happen because they have already been hinting at it, you know, even during elections. That is one of the biggest bullish factors you can have here. And, you know, Eric Trump saying a mystery country, probably not USA, but we're very close for XRP being bought out by countries just because of technology alone, in my personal opinion.
Every country, on just about every continent, I've got projects, and I talk to people to Bitcoin mining. I really believe in that asset. Or, you know, our country just bought, you know, 200,000 Bitcoin, and we did so very quietly. We don't want anybody to know about it, but that's how much.
So yeah, it's a pretty bad volume, but you get an idea. They bought a lot of Bitcoin, and they're probably buying other altcoins as well. Cup and handle bullish banner XRP. XRP could hit $15 by 2025. You could regret not following me. So again, $15 is going to be very hard to get to that point, but it is not impossible.
Thank you. I'll take it. Let's talk about it. The chart showing up. I'll blow this up for those of you staring at the screen. You got the old cup and handle pattern. Classic bullish move. Imagine it's like brewing a cup of coffee. You pour it into the cup, the steam rises, then you grab the handle and you tilt it. That's your breakout moment, everyone. Analysts see this playing out $15 by the end of the year. Sounds crazy? Well, not when you tie in ETFs. Look what happened when gold ETFs hit. Suddenly, everyone went from hedge funds to your uncle's retirement account could buy gold with one click. ETFs are like putting crypto in a groceries aisle, right? Instead of making people dig around in a sketchy back alley. If the SEC greenlights an XRP ETF in just 3 weeks, you'll have...
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. If they greenlight this, it's a bullish run from here.
Pension funds, hedge funds, maybe...
I mean, XRP ETFs funds are probably the first thing. What if it goes into the ETF funds? Wow, that would be certainly nice, right?
Even the same mystery country from earlier piling in. And you know what? That's what we call rocket fuel.
That is definitely a very, very bullish momentum XRP is going to have. Less than one liquidity, positive price action is brewing with analysts stating a $10 XRP if we pass 4.59 with volume. I mean, yeah, once we break that barrier, it's kind of getting easier and easier to climb to $10.
And you want to stir the pot up even more? Well, XRP supply on Coinbase is down 90% in the last 90 days. Something is going on. Think about it like a concert, right? Tickets sell out. Suddenly, everyone who didn't buy early is on StubHub paying triple. Same thing here. Less XRP on the exchange, it means less liquidity. So when demand surges, boom, you get a price gap. The magic number that analysts are watching on XRP is sitting right around $4.59. You break that with real volume, and it's not crazy to see $10 on the horizon.
I mean, yeah, that's the first one we have to push through. Once we do that, easy peasy from there.
Folks, that's not opium. That's pure economics. Low supply, high demand, that's your basic supply shock. And the players who know this, they're not waiting. They are already stacking. And we get this, the Fed, they are set.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's definitely institutions stacking. They're buying. Institutions are buying XRP.
It's tomorrow. Now, most people hear about, rate cuts. And what do? They snooze. They don't actually understand it. They don't get what that means. But here's why it matters. When money gets cheaper, banks get fatter. It's like lowering the cover charge at a nightclub. Suddenly the line outside triples. The drinks keep flowing in the house, aka the bank. They take home the biggest cut. Rate cuts mean that lending gets a whole lot easier. Credits.
Again, what do you do when rate cuts go down? You start buying, right? You start buying properties, you start buying XRP. And especially if that Clarity Act goes through that we are hoping for.
Cards, mortgages, business loans, they all pump money through the system. And which stock benefits? Banks. Always the banks. It's no coincidence that Wall Street has its champagne on ice before the Fed even made the announcement.
That's why we're seeing such small movements right now. I guess because some people buy before the announcements are in, speculating if it's going to pump or not.
You know what's coming. If you're working in the mortgage industry, you know these rates are about to drop. You know a lot of these people that got 6, 7, 8% rates, they're about to refinance as soon as they get below what they call the magical number, right? You're supposed to get 2 points under what you currently have for it to make a difference. I remember when we got rate cuts last time, we got mortgages down. What was it, like 2 to 3%? Everyone was rushing in. My buddy was doing mortgages. He made a killing on it. That is what rate cuts do, everyone. And what's going to happen? People are going to start borrowing money. What happens when people start to borrow money? Well, risk assets start to fly. We've seen it before with crypto. Nate put this out. First XRP ETF offering spot XRP.
So this is just an exposure, guys. Don't, feel too fooled about this because this is actually not really an XRP ETF. It is kind of backed an XRP ETF, but it's just a small XRP ETF. So it's not 100% that, but the real ones are starting in October, and that's what I'm bullish for.
Exposure. This is the first of many. This isn't the real deal, okay? And I don't mean it's not real. It's real. This is like the appetizer, though, because this isn't a pure spot ETF. They are using a loophole here from the 40 Act structure to bring this to market, okay? Don't get me wrong. This is very, very bullish. And the fact, if this does go live on Thursday, I don't see why it wouldn't go live. You never know if the SEC. But if this does go live on Thursday, and 100% we are getting the XRP spot ETFs with the direct exposure coming in October. Okay? Rex Osprey, they used a clever loophole here, and good for them.
So they're going to be first ones to actually have these spot ETFs, but I don't feel like that's going to be the main buying point. The main buying point is going to be the bigger an institution, the more buys there is going to be. So keep that in mind, guys.
It sucks that it comes down to this, right? That we have to use loopholes in order to get these things approved. That's going to all come to an end. Don't worry about that. So what is this? It's pretty much all this is it's a regulatory shortcut, right? It's not some legal trick. It sets precedent. Once one firm does it, all the other ones start to follow. This isn't just a clever move. It's a crack in the dam. And believe me, the SEC is going to patch this crack at some point. But what?
I mean, just going for ETFs, even if they're first, the big bull run, the 90% of volume is going to be in October.
Once the water starts to flow,
I like this
you
channel.
don't patch it up. You just got to ride the flood. And here's the actual filing. You can see it for those of you looking at the screen. You can see that we have the XRP ETF right here. It is coming on Thursday. I mean, this really is the perfect storm if you think about it. Tomorrow you get your rate cuts. Thursday, you get your first XRP spot ETF. The XRP chart, it's looking like it's in a great spot and it's ready to run up here. And then you wait another 2 to 3 weeks and we have more XRP ETFs. This is a very, very good position to be in. So here,
again, this is the start of many. This is what XRP needs to push $6. I know I sound like a broken record, but this is the only thing that really saved Ethereum and Bitcoin once it crashed. And XRP kind of needs this right now. It doesn't need the rate cuts as much as it needs the ETFs to be approved, which I feel like there's a 90% chance they will get approved.
Here's the bigger picture, everyone. Nations buying Bitcoin, XRP setting up textbook bullish patterns, supply shocks brewing, Fed rate cuts feeding the fire, and ETFs loopholes getting cracked open. This isn't some random news. It's all pointing to the same exact conclusions. The financial system is changing faster than ever.
And XRP has been predicting it correctly, and that's where XRP wins. They've been calling that this will change for the long term, and now that we saw this, it finally changed, and it's here. And now XRP is the first in line where institutions will use this type of, technology that XRP has. That's why they're pushing for XRP ETF. That's why these exchanges are pushing for XRP ETF, because they know a lot of these institutions will be buying the ETFs by itself.
Anyone expected. Get ready, strap in, lock in, get your exit plans all worked out. If you don't have one, if you don't know what to do, I got a one-on-one call. Very, very limited spots left.
So yeah, you get the idea of XRP ETFs. XRP versus Swift. It's a very big market, guys. XRP could be literally a billion. It is $1 billion market. Isn't like the company already valued at 1 billion, guys? So just let that sink in. This is millions and millions of users before we even got in retail investors. We got like 90 viewers right now, and XRP has about 3 million users holding XRP. 3 to 5 million users before it's only known in crypto and finance space. When it goes to live stream, wow.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the show. Hopefully everyone's having an amazing day. It's Tuesday, September 16th, and we got a big day coming tomorrow. Possible rate cuts coming, and later on this week, we got our first ever XRP ETF. We'll talk more about that, but listen up. Something big is brewing right now.
That's what I've been telling you guys. This big month that we've been waiting for since July is finally starting. So smash that like button, guys. And yeah, we do have some big plans now for XRP by itself.
With what I have been predicting for months. If you think the market is quiet right now, you're about to see why. It is the calm before the storm.
That's what I was telling you guys. Like, if one XRP whale sells and the price is the same, there has to be bought out by the whale. So a whale has most likely bought out the supply that the other whale has sold.
Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why XRP is positioned to shock the entire market once again. Welcome back to the Bullwinkle Blueprint. Folks, if you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video. And if you're coming back for some more of that good info, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up. It is the ultimate way and the freest way to support the channel. Past couple of videos, we didn't get a lot of thumbs up, and you can see they didn't do as well. Do me a favor, make it a priority to hit that thumbs up, and let's send this video absolutely viral. Now, without further ado.
So yeah, it's definitely going to happen at this point.
Yesterday, I said in simple terms, let me just kill it so we can read it. In simple terms, we broke it down. Look, XRP is ranging between 289 and 306. Whatever side breaks first is going to set the tone for the next leg. So currently your number 306. That's the magical number. 3 cents away. We break it. XRP will continue to push up. Now, guys on Earth tapped in. And he's like, look, we hold above $3 or thereabout. We're going to see a repeat of what happened in January. And he's telling you that the next liquidity point for XRP to take is sitting above $4, right around $4.20. So here's my take on this. Defend $3, finally crack above 306 with volume, and then we're going to see this thing take off. It's going to rip to the upside, and we can finally get into that $4 range, and we can put to rest the whole debate whether XRP's made a new all-time high or not.
So this is going to confirm us if we hit a new all-time high, probably in October, November. This is when we retest those ranges if that actually happens. Smash that like button, guys, if you haven't already. So yeah.
This is how XRP always moves, everyone. Quiet chop and then bang.
Exactly. This is how markets move. So you might not see any movement at all. And this is what people have been asking. Why no movement? Well, there was movement. You just didn't see it because there's the same amount of buyers and same amount of sellers. So what you need is like a push towards the upwards and sometimes a push towards the downwards. And right now liquidity is above around $4.2. So it can sustain the big hits that we have been waiting for here. Below $3 in my scenario from yesterday is still on the table. Let's see what you get XRP. So again, it is going to be an interesting factor where we go from here, but I am hopeful that XRP could actually push now to an upper band.
Moving average around $2.92. You got your upper band on this chart at $3.15 and your lower band at $2.69. The width of the bands here is around 15.5% of the mid price. That's not too wide. That's not too tight. That's healthy. That's balanced action. But here's the bullish part. Because when XRP consolidates near the mid band and then pushes above with volume, well, you want to know what history shows us? It shows us that we often trigger a multi-week run. The bands are primed, not too stretched, not dead flat, and that's the sweet spot before we get a directional breakout. So what the Bollinger Bands are showing us, break above 315 and it's freaking go time. We're going to have a parabolic move to the upside. That is what I am paying attention to. And then we get this out of Ripple.
$25 million commitment in Ripple USD to support American small business and veteran career programs. Now, if US notices this, which they have been pushing that, I'm not sure if they're going to pay in Ripple and they're going to have to use the chain. Again, they have enough money to do that. But that's kind of like a donation. Maybe if they use their own, Ripple, it's going to be like a grant in a sort of way if they use Ripple strategies. And again, this is the first step for Ripple to actually set their foot into US adoption because, US might notice this. Oh, look, they're using fast transactions and they just donated $25 million as an act of charity. They might work out something with Ripple. Again, this is just my own speculation, but it's not that far off, in my opinion, for this to happen, with Ripple. We have seen crazier stuff, and I think this is a great strategy move from Ripple.
$25 million commitment in RLUSD. Love to see it in the stable, not XRP. Back to American small businesses and veteran career programs. This isn't just a feel-good headline, everyone. This is Ripple flexing regulatory clarity and planting this stablecoin into the real economy. Think about it. While most projects are scrambling just to stay listed, Ripple is actively integrating itself into U.S. commerce in ways that makes regulators welcome them. This is how you build legitimacy. It's not a meme coin move. This is a chess move. You want to know why you should care? I'll tell you. Because every time Ripple aligns XRP and RLUSD with real-world utility, they tighten the feedback loop between fundamentals and price. And if you think Wall Street isn't watching this play, you're kidding yourself. They've been waiting for a project that can bridge crypto and traditional finance with zero friction. And Ripple just showed you that they are the project. And then the icing on the cake, well, it starts here. Dan Moorhead, Pantera Capital CEO. This was heard around the world. Ripple is going after Swift. Ripple is going to eat into Swift's dominance, folks. Listen to this clip.
We've had huge positions in Ethereum in the past. We used to be 100% Bitcoin. Something could come out tomorrow.
Is there anything out there, though, that's interesting to you? The reason I ask is I would hope
that, Solana was created many years ago. Ethereum was created many years ago. Bitcoin was created many, many years ago.
Yeah.
I would like to think that technology and technologists have come up with better solutions since then.
Well, Solana could do, I think, 9 billion transactions a day, which is more than all capital markets combined. So it's not obviously need that next thing past Solana.
So you think it just doesn't matter?
Yeah, and there might be other use cases, other like Ripple's going after Swift, Bitcoin's digital gold. There's several.
I mean, Ripple going after Swift, there's a big market enough for both of them. It's a very strong market. That's why, there's a ton of Project Solana, Ethereum. They cannot work with banks because they do not have the proper structure. Ripple does, though. Ripple has the proper structure to actually go for it, and that's where Ripple wins.
Several different major use cases, but Solana's very good at the performant blockchain.
You heard what Dan said here. I mean, we're talking about the global backbone of cross-border finance. And honestly, we knew this was coming.
I feel like, Bitcoin is getting slightly outdated. Of course, people are going to be buying it, but what they will end up holding is more like technology coins. So technology coins are the ones that are really going to survive in the long way.
We know it was coming. Here's the article. Okay, let's scroll up here. We can see right here. Back in January, Ripple's senior vice president, Eric Van Miltenberg, said at the World Economic Forum that Ripple aims to be the modern alternative to Swift.
I mean, yeah, the market is big enough. Swift, they're faster than Swift. They're stronger. They're cheaper. And Swift will have to step up. I heard rumors. Again, I don't know if this is 100% true. I heard rumors that, Ripple was offered to be bought out. And it didn't work out because they are aiming to be $1 trillion company. So why should they sell themselves? Why would you sell gold that's hidden inside a rock? It's literally a diamond, right?
Brett Garlinghouse, well, guess what? He doubled down. There you go. It's highlighted on the screen for you. He doubled down in June at XRP Ledger's Apex event, saying that the XRP Ledger could handle 14% of Swift's transaction volume within 5 years. Let that sink in. Swift does 5+ trillion a day. 14% of that running through Ripple's rails. It's not just bullish, everyone. It's game changing. That's generational wealth bullish. So when I connect the dots, we got tight consolidation. Boiler bands are squeezing. Ripple's deploying 25 million in US programs. And now we have open talks of replacing Swift.
I mean, this has been a talks of Ripple has been planning that for the last 10 years. And finally we're seeing it. So yeah, we are in very early stages of that. I'm definitely very excited for that. What do you guys think? Personally, I feel like this is the big move for Ripple. Even if they get 7% or 6%. Again, they've been expanding. They've been doing $200 million, $300 million deals, companies. They might hit that stablecoin market instead of Swift. And they're already doing that because they're hoping and they know that the US government and all the other governments are going to be focusing on stablecoins. And they're doubling down on that. XRP reprice. I really like the Bull Winky blueprint. He's really good at this. I love his voice. But XRP official signal just dropped. He's a really good channel. If you look at it here.
We're going to miss the biggest wealth transfer of our lifetime, folks.
I mean, this is just massive. And again, amazing. XRP at 180 billion. What's stopping it from going to 1 trillion? I feel like once Bitcoin is at 5 trillion, XRP can definitely push up to 1 trillion. It's nothing stopping it from being that.
Coming in at 4,641, it's down about 1%. And XRP, yeah, buddy, coming in at $3.04, it is down 3%. Total cryptocurrency market cap, it's in the red just a little bit, but look. We're over 4 trillion. At the end of this bull run, at the end of this bull cycle, I told you where I want us to be, 7 to 10 trillion. That is the magical number. I do not want to see 4 to 6, 4 to 7. I don't want to see it. I want 7 to 10.
Yeah.
That will make us all.
$7 to $10 would be amazing, but if we want to see $7 to $10, again, a lot of positive news needs to happen. It's not going to be super easy to hit $7 just like that because we're struggling at $3. But again, a lot of this news is pushing XRP towards the good prices.
All extremely happy if we get to those numbers. Now
I mean, a lot of people would be extremely happy. That would be like a 3x of what it already is. And I would be extremely happy if we see those prices. But again, we have to hit every spot right if we want to see that.
Talk about Bitcoin real quick. Let's talk about where Bitcoin started and where it is. And then let's talk about what does repricing actually mean. Here's your Bitcoin history chart. Since 2009, look, this thing started at pennies, dollars, 6 cents. In 2010, 25 years ago, you could have got Bitcoin for 20 cents. 2011, you could have got it for $1. 2012, you could have gotten Bitcoin for $4.
Same with XRP. The reason why most people didn't buy it is because it could not be sold on exchanges. So you couldn't sell it at all on exchanges because of the lawsuit. That's why it was super cheap. It was 10 times cheaper to get it at that point. But those times are long gone, really.
And people back then were screaming, it's overvalued, it's overpriced. This is just some internet money. It's never going to go anywhere.
Same for XRP, because it didn't have the technology then, like in 2017.
And as the years went on, people started catching on. My first bull run, 17,000. Bitcoin went up to. We then got the little correction. Then Bitcoin went all the way up to 69,000. We then got the little bit of a dip, and now Bitcoin is up over $100,000. That was Bitcoin's moment, Bitcoin's repricing moment. So what does that actually mean? Repricing isn't just about a chart breakout, everyone. It's when the world looks at an asset and it says, we've been valuing this wrong. And that's what happened in Bitcoin. 2014, $700. Come 2017, it was close to 20K. That was its first repricing event. And then as more institutions got involved, more bigger name clients like your Fidelities, JP Morgan, BlackRock, when they started to speak.
Exactly. They used to say that it will never go past $1 XRP. Suddenly, wow, the technology is really good, you know? And that's when suddenly they decided to buy the whole, like a very big supply of XRP. So that's how they won. They've bought a very big supply and they beat over everyone, like in time basis. They won on that part. So we are literally seeing the money move hands.
Think about it and get involved. Bitcoin had its repricing moment, currently sitting above $100,000. Right now, XRP is still being treated like it's a speculative token. But in reality, it's the settlement layers for banks, payment providers, and central bank digital currencies. When institutions recognize that, the market just doesn't inch up, everyone. It resets. This is from Ripple's website. From 2025, a couple of months ago in May, cross-border payments, a guide to international payments. Ripple really breaks this down. And this plays us directly into repricing and what it means, because people do not understand.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, the cross-border payments are getting super expensive now. Like, you know, sending from one country to another. Ripple is literally working on changing that. Ripple is going to change that to make everything super easy. Like, no transfer fees, nothing at all. And once they do that, it's going to be way up from there.
What XRP, what its role is going to be in this new financial era that we are entering. We have not yet to have our XRP moment. And Ripple is going back to XRP 101, talking about payments. How do cross-border payments work? 99.9% of people have no understanding of how cross-border payments work. They do not get Nostro Vostro accounts. They don't understand how much money is actually moved cross-border. That is why you got to go back and look at these Ripple articles. This is what they are talking about here. They are breaking this down in its simplest of forms. So when institutions recognize, and trust me, these institutions, are playing it off right now. They understand what Ripple is doing. They understand where the world of cross-border payments and payments in general is moving to. They haven't told you yet, because when they tell you, it is too late. So when institutions start to recognize this, and just like they did with Bitcoin, when they started talking about Bitcoin, when they start talking about XRP, the market isn't just going to inch up on XRP. It is going to reset. It is going to have its Bitcoin moment, where it was $3, and next thing you know, it's $3,000.
Yeah. Here is where it's really important. Like, you can have a coin that does nothing, and then, yeah, it pumps because it's hype around it. It's a meme coin. And you can have then, actual coin with utility that suddenly changes everything overnight, changes the entire ecosystem. Now, that's real power. That's real power to me. It is definitely incredible how far XRP has done. Good job on them. It's a very good video, by the way.
Just like Tesla stock went from being a niche car company to being repriced as the future of transportation, XRP will be repriced as the foundation of global liquidity.
If you want to be a $1 trillion company like Tesla or XRP, you have to bring something new to the market. And that's exactly what XRP did. What they did is went from being, just like Tesla invented, electric cars, or at least modernized them. XRP is doubling down and actually going for the same thing. It's trying to modernize the financial system where it's cheaper, faster, and stronger. What does everybody need? It needs to send these cross-border payments, right? Everybody needs to send some payments nowadays, even for paying utility bills. It is crazy how important this is.
So what's the big signal? Right? Ripple's regulatory clarity, and Cointelegraph breaks this down. The whole lawsuit and where this went to. And to get to the last part, which talks about how the lawsuit has strengthened XRP's narrative. So the big signal here is it's a combination of the ETF filings and those deadlines coming in October, Ripple's regulatory clarity, and banks publicly integrating blockchain settlement. We have ISO 20022, which we touched on in the first video today. Swift told us that November it is going live, no more delays.
Nice.
This will be the flip of the switch moment where they will need to integrate blockchains. This is the green light that the institutions have been waiting for. They don't FOMO into hype. They move when the rules are clear and the rails are built. That moment is here, and it's ignition point for XRP. This thing is ready to go. And as we look at XRP over here on CoinMarketCap, and we go back all time and we look at this right here.
This is right before, again, this is not during the lawsuit. Guys, this is when XRP announced its major move and when we saw the 2017 pump. And this pump exactly is the same patterns. Look, it's same patterns, but the issue here is we're not at all-time highs. Why? Because 2017 was way easier to pump the markets, but it was also way easier to basically get in. And I feel like there was also way less money. So inflation adjusted, like XRP all-time highs are seriously at $4.2.
This is what we call uncertainty. Until we get into 2024 and we slowly start climbing up, because we get the narrative start to form back in 2024, right? The lawsuit is coming to closure and it's very clear that Ripple is winning and that XRP will not be a security. Institutions start talking about XRP ETFs, all the narrative about Swift moving over and how the Swift system is going to be replaced. So the supply shock here that no one's talking about. Here's the math that the market isn't pricing in, right? XRP has a max supply of 100 billion tokens, but only about 55 billion is circulating. The rest is locked in escrow, released slowly every month if it's released. It doesn't have to be. Meanwhile, trillions of dollars are moving through Swift daily. If just a fraction reroutes through XRP, the available liquidity gets swallowed instantly. Folks, that's a supply shock. When demand rockets higher than what's available, forcing a repricing across the entire market. It's exactly what we're seeing with Bitcoin. The Bitcoin miners cannot mine enough Bitcoin to fill the supply is out there. So what happens? Supply shock hits and price goes up and price shoots through the roof. Remember, Bitcoin was one.
That's what's happening now. Just yesterday, we got more news that there is a supply shock. We had more news. XRP had a supply shock just yesterday. So let that sink in. When you have so much of the supply shock, the prices are bound to go up. And of course, there might be drops after because these whales will notice that and put it on exchanges and sell again. But again, it's a very, very good pricing at this point.
It's $1. It's now over 100,000. And BlackRock, Fidelity, and the biggest asset managers alive are starting to model it at a $1 million per coin. Why? Because it was repriced.
Now, I don't think 1 million per coin will happen. That's very expensive.
Not as internet magic money, but as digital gold. XRP is setting up
That's the issue. Bitcoin is already a digital gold, is it not?
The exact same way, except instead of digital gold, it is the plumbing of the financial system. Repricing takes an asset from niche curiosity to global necessity, and that's where XRP is headed. And the timeline is simple, right? We follow Bitcoin's timeline. Bitcoin went ETFs, hype, dip, liftoff. XRP ETFs, partnerships, clarity, hype, dip, repricing.
Exactly. ETFs are the big gainer for XRP right now.
Liftoff. We're in the hype stage now. Institutions don't chase green candles. They accumulate in a day.
Much love from Houston, Texas. Much love back, bro. How do you know when a whale puts on XRP on an exchange? Well, usually you can see the transfers, right? That's the thing. XRP has been, everything is open with XRP. So when the price dips, you can also see like, oh, they put it on exchange from their own wallet.
But when the floodgates open and real settlement volumes ramp up, XRP's price won't climb. It will be repriced overnight. And if you've been in crypto long enough, you know December is when the fireworks go off. And this December could be XRP's ignition month. Folks, XRP isn't a trade anymore. It's entering a repricing cycle that the world cannot stop. Bitcoin already proved this playbook works. Now XRP is about to write its own chapter. Supply shock, institutional demand, and a reevaluation that could leave most people in disbelief. Don't ignore the signal. Don't sleep on the setup. This is how generational wealth.
So yeah, this is a very good point. Very good video overall. We saw the same patterns we're seeing with Bitcoin and Ethereum with XRP. The patterns are repeating itself, and that's what makes it great. All the time, these patterns are, really changing for the better. So again, I'm really, really excited. Is this going to be the main big hit for XRP? So who knows? Could be, could very much be. And I would definitely love that, to see XRP pump like that. So Ripple, XRP news, XRP warning 48 hours until major
markets, and it's lining up perfectly with what's about to happen to XRP. And here's the shocker. History shows when the Fed cuts rates, crypto doesn't just wiggle. It ignites. And this time, the timing is absolutely insane. Because while Powell is talking, XRP is coiled on the charts. And just days later, we are staring at the very first US spot XRP ETF approval window.
And that is October. We've been waiting this for a long time, like this spot ETF. But again, I am hoping that this spot ETF will invite BlackRock, guys. I've been calling for BlackRock for a very long time. Why? Because they are 90% of the trading volume by itself. They are going to be the big part of the next XRP push, the next XRP bull run that we are hoping for. It is BlackRock that actually pushed and saved Ethereum and Bitcoin, in my opinion. Bitcoin used to be 17,000 until they came in. The big institutions is what is going to save XRP right now.
Gotta keep pushing out this content. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Bitcoin, $115,078. It's currently down 0.64%. Ethereum coming in at 4,531. It's currently down 2.2%. And XRP, yeah, buddy, it is up a little tiny bit from this morning. Remember, we spoke about 297 was the line in which the bulls had to defend, and they clearly defended it. We are coming in right now currently at a $3 XRP, total cryptocurrency market cap. It is back up to 4 trillion. Let's talk about this week ahead, because the macro storm, it is incoming. Here's the setup that nobody's ready for. This week is stacked with central bank moves. Yeah. And you know what that means? Volatility.
Yeah, volatility.
Wednesday, the Fed drops it.
I mean, we're kind of waiting for institutions right now. Institutions are the key factor, but again, there's not just one news. There is 3 types of news, and here I'm seeing that this is like, it's not just in USA, Fed rate decision. It's also going to be Bank of England and Bank of Japan. And also, we must not forget XRP Korea, which is a very big factor in terms of the market price changing. So let that sink in. It's not just one, interest rate change. It's all around the world. This is the push that we need to see, that we haven't been seeing for like 3 years now. So the interest rates were staying the same for like 1, 2, 3 years. It's a big problem. So what was your decision? Did you purchase more? I'm actually just going to keep personally. I'm just going to wait and see what happens. There's no need to purchase for me right now. But I'm bullish personally for October. October has been a pretty bullish year for XRP.
And the volume that is coming in on XRP. So let's talk technicals. Because this XRP chart is pretty awesome. Swing highs, 366. Your swing low, $1.91. We're working with the range here of about $1.75.
And again, for it to get from 10 cents to $1, it took like many, many years, almost 7 years. But then to get from $1 to $3, it only took it like 8 months, 8 month-ish. So again, from a 10x, it took 8 years, but from a 3x, it only took 8 months. That's why I think like 100% growth from $3 to $6 could take way less than we expect. Just the math adding up. Yes, the gains will be much smaller, but also now XRP has established itself with its real price point. But who knows? It's going to be here in 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years. It really could go, either way.
The last close we got was $2.98. And here's where it gets juicy, because XRP is sitting right on that 0.382 Fibonacci retracement. You know where that number is? Right around where the current price is, $2.99. That level, it has been a magnet for XRP. Now here's the playbook. If XRP reclaims the 382, which we currently looks like we got it reclaimed. If we get up to the 0.5, or we hold up the 0.5 and we hold the 0.618, and we continue to see rising volume.
Now I feel like going to 618, that's the issue here. It's easy to say to go 618. I guess that's the golden pocket, right? You can see here 618. Let's find it. It's over here, $2.7, $2.8. Now, if we go to this super high risk level, it's going to be hard to push it over $4 unless something big happens. And that's what we're hoping for in October.
That is what we call textbook bullish continuation. On Kraken, the golden pocket, you can see those 2 green lines. It's sitting at anywhere from 252 to 258. Historically, when price holds above that zone, the prior highs stay in play. But if we lose that pocket, what happens? You get a weaker trend, your momentum starts to fade. That's why the next couple of candles here, they matter more than ever. Right now, the short-term slope, it's down. That's okay, because your volume's neutral. But we're sitting on that next level that decides whether XRP flips the script or not. In simple terms, everyone, the chart's coiled. The fib's a map, and the reaction to this week's macro news, it's going to tell us everything.
So yeah, usually I'm not a big pusher of news, right? Because we haven't had that much news the past few months, but seriously, guys, this is what I've been calling for 3 months. Since the start of my channel, or revival of my channel, I have been calling for XRP to push, you know, also in October. I've always been saying in June, I've been saying October. In July, I've been saying October. And again, October is coming. I never called for September for these bull run spikes, but the macro, you know, even price point we have, it's finally here. This is why I think this is a really fantastic video.
Crypto's rocket fuel. Now let's talk about this. Someone out there, their position for this Wednesday news look like they're trying to front run the market a little bit. $20 million long, a 40x on Bitcoin. That's insane. Absolutely insane. But you know what? He's trying to front run the announcement and what may come from Wednesday. And in the odds of a rate cut, 94.2% sitting right now, that we got a 25 basic point rate cut here. So here's the here's where we go from technicals in the XRP chart, and we start looking into the bigger picture, right? Wednesday, Powell's expected to announce the first rate cut in this cycle. Let me repeat.
So yeah, the first rate cut. I don't think we will get 3, probably 2 at this point.
Repeat that. The first of many rate cuts in this cycle.
I mean, first of many. There's one in September, one in December, one in October. It's awesome, but don't really expect the rate cuts, you know, to really change the price if it's just one.
And if you studied history, well, you know what happens next. Rate cuts almost always unleash liquidity into risk assets. Stocks are going to rally, but crypto, it's going to fly. But here's the catch. It's not always instant. Sometimes it can take weeks for the full effect to show up in the charts, which means that this week could be the spark. But the real blaze, well, it could come after. October, XRP ETFs. You see how everything is lining up? Oh, so perfectly? The perfect storm, one might say. Now stack this all on top of what happens in 4 days. So 3 days, Fed hopefully announces rate cuts, but 4 days, we're staring at the decision window for the very first US spot XRP ETF. In October, we got 4 to 5 more ETF approvals data queued up.
Yeah.
That's not hype, folks.
And again, 4. I thought there would be only 2, but I guess we have 4 now, which is pretty good news. Like, the more ETFs approvals we have, the better it is. But again, how many rate cuts do we have? I think we have like 3 dates, key dates until December. And again, if all 3 get approved, that would be like 25 basis points. It can be more than that. It can be even 1 full basis point cut. Imagine the run on that, but I don't know if Jerome Powell is actually going to do that, like a full basis point cut again. So this is a hybrid ETF which adds absolutely $0 to the price of XRP. Exposure, compliance, and institutional trust are often the underlying drivers of long-term price growth. I've been telling guys that this $0 price of XRP is the main reason why XRP has not been growing, because the XRP that was posted a few days ago, it is not a real ETF, unfortunately.
Putting injections from the Fed, ETFs unlocking institutional demand, and XRP circulating supply shrinking as it gets locked up in funds, well, that's the recipe for what we call a supply shock. And if Powell follows with another cut in October, another one maybe in December, that's jet fuel on a fire that is already burning, everyone. This isn't just another bullish setup. This is the kind of alignment that you see once in a cycle. Macro easing, ETF flows, technical breakouts all at the same time. For XRP.
So again, yeah, the ETFs is what we're waiting for here. But Rex Osprey will launch the first spot ETF 4 days from now, September 18th. And again, if they launch this tomorrow, people will still buy it and talk about it. Just the exposure effect alone. But again, are you guys hopeful for October or September? Whatever it is, that's the points I'm most excited about. 30,000 USDT in XRP. I understand the risk, but I purchased it at 0.68. I mean, that's a pretty good price point entry. I feel like that's the same as mine in terms of price point. Again, I'm not telling, you know, I can't tell on YouTube. Again, crypto is super risky. So the thing is, at $3, it might go to 4, it might go to $1. You never know with crypto. XRP is risky, but it shows me, like news like this shows me that it's bullish.
XRP's chart, it's wound tight, sitting on a make or break Fibonacci level right around $2.99 to $3. You think this is all random? This isn't all random. This is the perfect storm of macro policy, institutional access, and technical positioning. And you know what? If you're watching this video, you're ahead of 99% of the market. Stay locked in, because when people look back months from now and say, that's when everything changed, you'll know you were already ready for it, folks.
So yeah, that's what I'm telling you guys. They already found workarounds how to post these XRP ETFs. That's why the price hasn't changed much, because it's not really just a workaround, but it is a good starting point here that he hasn't, nobody has mentioned. And again, we are at very early stages, in my opinion, for XRP. But I also feel like people overestimate how high XRP will go this cycle. It already went from 50 cents to like $3, $3.66. Can it go to $4, $5, $6 this cycle? Yes. But if we want to go to $15, we might have to wait 4 years for another cycle. So just keep that in mind. In my personal opinion, I don't have a crystal ball, but it's important to know that, you have to be realistic with this type of stuff. Could XRP reach $1,000, and what type of scenario will it reach $1,000? I really like this channel, the Bullwinkle Blueprint. Again, this guy's amazing. So here we have, he knows a lot about XRP. That's why I like showing his videos. But $1,000 example, he actually proves the facts here on what it takes to get $1,000 XRP. That would be definitely, very nice to get to $1,000. Remember, the November 2025 deadline for ICO 222 migration is final and will not move. No more delays, directly from Swift documented. So it has been historically changeable back in March 2020. Swift has delayed the original migration date for cross-border payments by 12 months. Again, this just tells me perhaps, again, I don't know much about Swift, but I know that a lot of these companies cannot make the same result as XRP right now. Because they don't have the technology. XRP basically built its own toolbox that they can lend out, they can rent out to the banks, to the companies. XRP, it's one common misconception. It's only going to be working with banks. It's going to be working with lots more than just that. But the banks are a good start because they have a lot of money and they needed it the most, and they know people will use it.
0022 final deadline. So let's start with the piece that nobody can argue with. The November 2025 ISO migration, it's final. It's written in stone. Swift literally came out and said no more delays, no more extensions. And here's why this matters. XRP is built for the standard, period. Every single bank, payment provider, and financial institution that wants to stay alive in the new global system, they have to comply. That means trillions in settlement flow shifting over to rails that XRP already runs on. So when people ask, why XRP? Why not any random token? It's simple. This migration isn't optional. The world...
I'm holding for 10,000. I mean, 10,000 would be amazing. $1,000 XRP would be amazing. That would be like future generation. But you're also going to consider, if it's like $1,000, it also means that there is more money. If it's like $10,000 XRP, it means there's more money in XRP than there is in US dollars. And, that means that XRP would be used instead of dollars, which, XRP is not that stable. So it's not going to happen. It's just a theoretical, like a lot of these things that we hear, XRP is $1,000. It's theoretical. It's not actually going to happen.
Is moving to messaging and settlement that XRP was designed for. It's like owning the key to the only bridge across a new financial river. And when traffic starts flowing, you're not guessing if value moves across XRP. You are watching it happen. Now, folks, if you're still sitting here and you're thinking, okay, but what's my move? How do I actually take advantage of this without fumbling the bag? That's exactly why I offer private one-on-one calls. Stop guessing. Start building a clear, actionable XRP plan tailored replacing gold.
So look at this. Bitcoin is going to $1.1 million this cycle. That's incredible. If this would happen, it would mean XRP is $15. No, I don't think so. Especially not this cycle. You know, guys, we already saw a huge run. Are we going to see another run? It would be incredible, but not really. It's going to take some time to get to these patterns, like $1.1 million. Would be incredible again, but not going to happen.
It doesn't just follow Bitcoin's wake, everyone. It's tied to the actual plumbing of finance. If Bitcoin is the digital gold, XRP becomes the settlement standard behind every major transaction across borders. That's not just bullish. That's a brand new asset class growing larger than stocks. We're not talking about a niche market anymore. We're talking about a repricing of money itself, and the asset sitting at the center of real-world adoption is XRP. The upside isn't just percentages. It's exponential. This is where reallocation looks like when a new system replaces the old. Listen up.
Because on top of this halving, which theoretically, if history is a guide, we should...
I mean, like, even $18 XRP this cycle, it's going to be hard, in my opinion. Why? Because XRP is not fully out yet. It's still in development, right? So how can you get there if you don't have the full product yet? Again, they're in testing phases, and that's what's the most important factor. They're still testing the product, and I feel like XRP is not ready in 5 years. It's like an IOU at this point. It is working, but it's not launched yet. Once XRP launches, that's where I feel like it could get its true potential.
See some price appreciation. Obviously, the other thing that's happened is we've commercialized Bitcoin. And we talked about this sort of as my big prediction for 2024, which is these ETFs are really going to allow Bitcoin to cross the chasm and have its sort of central key moment, right? And so if you apply the averages, and again, these are just averages, they're by no means predictions. Okay, so I just want to qualify that.
Yeah,
this
is not financial advice.
It's not financial advice. These are just guesses. Data. We took these and we applied it to the price of Bitcoin. And if you go to the next page, you start to see what could happen if you just take the average of the last few cycles. So because the first cycle was so extreme.
I mean, these cycles are amazing, but just imagine how much money we would need to get. We got, from Bitcoin, we got from 50,000 to 100,000. And yeah, it was a huge bump. But again, people calling like for $1 million, $1.1 million, it's a lot of money.
And you start to...
so you're just doing cycle 2 and 3 here, to be clear.
Just the averages of cycle 2 and 3. And what you start to see is some really meaningful appreciation. And when I talked to Wences about this, how he explained it, which makes a lot of sense to me, is there are a lot of countries that will never look at Bitcoin credibly, even if they support it. The US may be one of those. But there's an increasing body of countries that will become dual currency. And they will look at their local currency, and then they will look at Bitcoin. And
I mean, I don't understand that. He's basically calling that the other countries will use XRP or Bitcoin as, replacing gold, like target implied by last halving cycle. So he's basically saying, if I understand him correctly, that the countries are going to be looking at their own dollar, and then they're going to be looking at cryptocurrencies. Why aren't they doing that now? And again, I kind of agree. You cannot average the past cycles, which have been way smaller and way easier to pump. It's like saying, oh, well, XRP went from 10 cents to $1 before, so it must go from $1 to $10 now this cycle. It doesn't work like that. It's getting harder and harder to get the same amount of money back in that sense.
They will say both of these two things are needed. One, when you're transacting on a daily basis for random goods and services.
Good thing it could write and so launch. You mean like $100 XRP eventually would be awesome, but we're still far away from that.
And two, when you need to buy a permanent asset that needs to have residual value, you'll use something like BTC. And I think that's a very powerful concept. And if you look at what this price chart could indicate, is that if this thing starts to get to these levels of appreciation, it is going to completely replace gold.
All right, so Bitcoin to $1 million. Now I want to revisit. Let's rewind a little bit real quick. When Bitcoin spot ETFs went live, you can see it here. Remember the price action? It was a freaking roller coaster. Hype, dip, pain, and then liftoff. Everyone who panicked out during the shakeout, they missed the generational run-up. And here's the kicker. XRP ETFs are lining up next. The same pattern is about to repeat. And if you've been paying attention, you know exactly what is coming. The hype will explode, the weak hands will fold when it dips, and the real parabolic run will then begin. So the question isn't if XRP follows Bitcoin's ETF blueprint, it's how soon. And if Bitcoin...
Yeah, I mean, XRP, could be following the cycle, but again, each pump from before is going to be a bit weaker. So each pump that we are seeing right now is going to be maybe this, and then it's going to be that, and weaker and weaker and weaker. So let that just sink in. It's not going to be super, super easy.
Trajectory is the guide. You better be strapped in because history's about to rhyme louder than ever. And hey, Uphold, they're out here for the third time, sending out the tweet about a $1,000 XRP. We got exchanges out here trolling us with XRP just hit $1,000. What's your next move? Now, are they predicting? No. But are they planting seeds?
So XRP Uphold XRP just hit $1,000. And again, Uphold posting this for ETFs. This is a pure marketing tactic. And I think it's a lot of responsibility, whoever is writing that, because some people will actually believe that XRP will hold $1,000. And it's purely theoretical at that point. It's purely mathematics. So just imagine, guys. Yeah, that would be amazing to hit $1,000. I would definitely be very happy with that. But again, you as a big company need to be careful like posting this. Again, I love Uphold. But this is the thing. A lot of people believe $1,000 is possible for XRP. It's only possible maybe in like 50 years, if that, 30 years. And not in like, some people are calling $700 by end of the year. That's not going to happen.
Because they know how retail psychology and institutional reality are about to collide. That $1,000 tweet isn't just a meme. It's foreshadowing. Because when infrastructure, regulations, and ETFs align, numbers that sound insane today become table stakes tomorrow. The real question is, will you have positioned yourself before this move? Or will you be the one staring at your screen, wishing you acted when it felt too early? Let's recap all this. We just unpacked a lot. ISO 20022 isn't just coming, it's locked in.
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
This is good. Like ISO, don't get me wrong, it's a great thing, but it is not going to change the prices that much.
Is set to rewrite its valuation to 7 figures. ETFs already proved that the boom bust liftoff cycle, and XRP's ETFs are the ones next in line. Every major exchange are hinting at what a 4-digit XRP could look like. Put it together, and you're not just looking at another pump. You're looking at the single biggest structural repricing of an asset that the world has ever seen. If you're still here, you know that this just isn't noise. This is your shot. Don't sleep. Don't second guess. Stay sharp, stay early, and stay convicted. Because when December hits and beyond, this market, it's not going to wait for you.
I feel like December, yeah, it's awesome. Not $1,000, but again, 100% gains, 200%. If we stay realistic, up to $7. It has happened in the past with Bitcoin and Ethereum. So it could happen very much again. And I would be very excited when that happens, guys. What do you guys think? $1,000, is it possible or not? Let me know that in comments below. Because if XRP can hit $1,000, a lot of people would be billionaires again. XRP is about to collapse the US dollar. This was made by Crypto Levi.
So Ethereum.
So yeah, look at this one. I like this. I like Crypto Levi, and he's been really on my mind for some time. The S&P is now up 31% over the last 5 months, the most since 2020 pandemic recovery. This marks the third biggest 5-month gain over the last 20 years. This is only 1 percentage point behind the 2008 financial crisis recovery of 32%. S&P has added a massive 16.6 trillion in value. Again, yeah, the markets have been pumping. That's more than the size of every individual stock market in the world except the US. Historic is an understatement. And again, the markets have been rallied because we have been waiting for a long time for that. Think Solana is going to do anything? Yeah, it already did like recover a bit. I'm not too sure if it's going to reach all-time highs. Don't know that much about it. Been mostly researching about XRP. But yeah, there's other coins that also, you know, reach back all-time highs, and it's not even the end of the cycle yet. So still have potential there. But yeah.
Situation all in today's video. So I want to first talk about the historic run that we're currently seeing. The S&P 500 is now up over 31% over the last 5 months, which is the most since the 2020 pandemic recovery. This work,
and again, we have been in a recession. We have been in a recession in 2022, and we have been in a recession in 2024, even maybe a bit 2025. And we're finally stopping that. And we saw that after the Great Depression, like the markets literally recovered.
It's the third biggest 5-month gain over the last 20 years. This is only 1 percentage point behind the 2008 financial crisis recovery of 32% from the lows. Since the April 8th low, the S&P 500 has added a massive 16.6 trillion in value. This is more than the size of every individual stock market in the world except the US. Historic is an absolute understatement. So what gives? Why are people piling into stocks, cryptocurrencies like never before?
This has happened, you know, because it was super cheap to buy then, but people are hoping that this rally will never stop. I feel like it will slow down. It won't fully be a recession, but it will slow down in 2026. So look at that. This is what's interesting here.
How the Fed literally has no choice but to lower interest rates, but to do economic stimulus, but to print money, much like in the 2008 financial crisis, where we saw us bottom out and absolutely explode in value very shortly thereafter. We can see 33% of US states could already be in a recession, according to Moody's analysis. Using a similar methodology in the National Bureau of Economic Research, economic activity in states like New Jersey, Illinois, Virginia, Georgia, Washington, Iowa, and Oregon is contracting. On the other hand, California, Texas, and New York, together making up for nearly 1/3 of US GDP, are expanding. This comes as goods producing sectors like agriculture, manufacturing, and construction are already in a recession, hitting industrial and rural states the hardest. And these are...
So that's what I'm worried about. What if we enter another recession? Healthcare, technology, real estate are expanding. Financial services are barely holding steady. So yeah, some of these stuff has never recovered. Look at cinemas, for example. Yeah, technology has improved like XRP. But a lot of this cryptocurrency, you know, has not yet recovered to all-time highs. That is because the markets have fully changed. The money has fully changed. You know, retail and financial services, I'm guessing also tourism, you know, it's just like money shifting really. And that's why XRP really grew up so much before any other cryptos, for this simple reason.
Always the first states to see a decline because, of course, when recessions start, it's the blue collar work that is affected first because they're most dependent on the value of everything that they're transacting with. They're buying materials. They have to pay employees to go out and physically do the work. So they're always affected first. And the digital products, like what you see mostly coming out of New York, California, and other areas such as that, take a lot longer to be affected because their overhead is so much lower and they're not affected by tariffs. They're not affected by raising costs of goods and services and all that kind of stuff, or there being less liquidity in the markets because they simply just don't spend as much on marketing. You can see at the same time, healthcare, technology, and real estate are expanding, while financial services, retail, and hospitality are barely holding steady.
Yeah, I agree with this. Like, you know, some of these countries are in recession, but that's because not that there isn't no money. Everything is getting super expensive. And that's what I'm worried is just when XRP will have its final run, you know, it will start to crash. I am definitely worried about that point here, that XRP is going to be crashing hard in that part. Like exactly when it has some great technology, but I know it's going to keep building.
U.S. economic conditions are varying much by state depending on the industry that you're within. I want you guys to think about something. What industries are doing the absolute best right now? Technology is doing amazing. Why? Because technology is what solves the problems that we're in today. Blockchain technology is what solves the financial conditions that we're in today. That's why people are putting a disproportionate amount of money into XRP, Bitcoin, Solana, these financial products basically that solve the financial issues with the dollar. That's why people are putting a lot of money into AI right now, because of course this reduces.
It's like called diversifying. Yeah, Levi has a fair point. A lot of this money is going into technology, and you can see that these companies are actually buying here. Now they're doubling down basically in that sense. They're tripling down.
This is the cost of employment, and this is something that is infinitely scalable, infinitely productive, and of course it saves companies potentially billions of dollars per company, for these larger ones. There's a lot of big problems being solved right now, and essentially if we're looking to fix the problems we have, I mean, most of the government will probably be running on an AI in the next 10 years. And that
maybe that's why Jerome Powell doesn't want to cut the full interest rates or cut everything yet, because of exact data like this. It's still not 100% certain if we are in recession or not.
Will drastically reduce the amount of money that's required for public services. And that, of course, is once again going to massively change the way that our economies work. Now, I want to highlight a few things. Solana just surpassed $240 per coin, and volatility in the crypto market is rising astronomically.
This is where, these cryptos kind of win here. So they double down, and they actually won.
Buy and sell in the market. Some people say it's bearish, some people say it's bullish, but what you can see right here, the max paying price for Bitcoin is about 112. The max paying price for Ethereum is 4,400. So just because, yes, the Fed is likely to start printing money again and lowering rates very soon, it doesn't mean that the short term is not going to see some volatility. And so that's why
And in September, that's very normal to see these type of price crashes. That's why XRP has been at $3 for such a long time.
We've seen XRP and some other things actually go down a little bit, and it's possible that we bottom out at 4,400 for Ethereum and 212 for Bitcoin, and maybe like 290-ish for XRP based off of this news. So do keep that in mind. Just because we're not, going up all the time does not mean that the general sentiment or the general, market direction is not going to be bullish. This is just an opportunity, in my point of view, to essentially buy these dips, and that's precisely why my particular indicator, my buy and sell indicator known as the Crusader signal, has actually been offering some sell signals as of recently. We're pretty much overbought now when it comes to the stochastic RSI. You can see we've consistently been touching these higher resistance lines, and you can see we just started to see a...
So yeah, I feel like this is a pretty fair analysis. This is pretty normal to see this in September and then hopefully a rally back up here. It is kind of concerning, but there is definitely a lot of bullish news that makes me still bullish on XRP. But I also want to report on bad news and not just good news. Because when we see like that, it tells what Jerome Powell is thinking. Yes, a lot of these countries are expanding and they need XRP. Sorry about that. And a lot of them, they are not bullish enough. They are actually negative or showing hints of a recession, which further confirms that 2026 might be worse than we might expect. The XRP super cycle is about to be unleashed, Tom Lee. So Tom Lee has been very much right about XRP for a long time. And if you guys are hyped about this content, be sure to smash that like button. So Tom Lee has been calling for XRP, and the new wave of investors, the new wave of cycle. What we haven't seen yet is retail investors. Retail investors are a very big part of buying an economy. And that's what I think we should push for, honestly. If not, it's institutional investors here. So yeah, these are the two things that I'm really hopeful and worried about. But I am excited to see more about that.
Q4 is going to come to fruition, and this is going to allow the trillions of dollars we've been waiting for this entire year to start flooding into XRP. Now, I just want to highlight real quick the key events that are happening this week. We have August retail sales data, and then, of course, the Fed interest rate decision happening on Wednesday. This is it. This is the moment you've been waiting for. Everyone is pointing to the fact that the Fed will cut rates.
So yeah, this is a very key moment. This is sometimes what happens in crypto. You don't have anything, and then suddenly you have everything in that sense for crypto. Like you could go months with XRP having no news and people complaining about price, and then suddenly in 3 days there's more stuff happening than an entire month.
And if that happens, well, I want to show you guys something. In 20 out of the last 20 times that the Fed has cut rates with the S&P 500 at record highs, stocks ended higher 12 months later. This also applies to cryptocurrency. This is 100% odds that 12 months later, basically, we're going to see the S&P 500 close higher. And of course, the crypto market is just as correlated to the Fed's policy decisions as the S&P 500. Now, there is something you need to look out for, though. In 11 out of the 22 last times that this has happened, stocks ended lower 1 month later. So there's about a 50% chance that over the next 30 days after the Fed lowers rates, that we might actually be trading lower. Now,
so this is pretty normal, but long term, isn't this still super bullish? So yeah, if they lower rates, that's no problem in a short term to actually dip the price a bit if they do that. So don't be too afraid if that happens. I saw this we saw that a few times. The Fed cuts interest rates, markets go down, XRP goes down, then it literally goes back up at that sense. So yeah, in 20 out of 20 last times that the Fed has cut rates, stocks ended higher 12 months. So this is really about long term. The thing is, 2026, 2025 already had a huge rally. Does this mean we have a 2026 rally? Now that's the important question, because we still don't know how long this rally will last us for.
Bitcoin was under $1,000 back then, and is now over 110,000 today.
Yeah.
So it's been a 100x return. And this year, I became quite constructive on Ethereum because in our view, I think Ethereum is one of the most important macro super cycles for the next 10 to 15 years. And an opportunity came along where I worked with another group called Mosaics. They're good business partners of mine. I've done business with them for about 15 years, and we had an opportunity to create an Ethereum treasury on an existing company. So this idea really made a lot of sense to us because I think Ethereum is one of the most important sort of super cycle stories for the next 10 to 15 years. And here was a chance to create a company or transform a company in the same way that MicroStrategy did with Bitcoin. I still like Bitcoin, and we still recommend it to clients because Bitcoin is, I think, a ideal store of value. So it's digital gold. Yeah. But in 2025, there is a much bigger transformation underway because the White House...
So yeah, 2025 is literally the time where the markets change the most. And I feel like 2026, 2027, and hopefully I'm wrong, will be the building years of crypto again, where crypto builds, but the price doesn't really change.
House has really pushed two different agendas. The first is the Genius Act.
Yeah.
And that's to essentially greenlight stablecoins. And stablecoins are going to grow dramatically. Today, there's about $280 billion of stablecoins outstanding. Treasury Secretary Bessent thinks it's going to get to close to $4 trillion.
Yeah, he is.
So that's exponential growth. And then there's the SEC's Project Crypto, which is encouraging not only for Wall Street to look at digital assets, but to rebuild Wall Street onto the blockchain.
Oh.
Okay. So this is a dramatic moment where the financial system is essentially moving everything onto a digital platform. Wall Street is choosing to do this on Ethereum. So Ethereum is
So yeah, Ethereum is the one that most have picked. I feel like that's why XRP has made a lot of these partnerships with other companies. Haven't they made a partnership and a $200 million rail deal? So that is one that we are seeing right now and that I'm hopeful for. But what XRP will need in the future is some type of partnership to keep it rolling, especially like with the banks. That's the first part. But in the future, XRP Ledger, like building applications or offering it to small businesses, that would definitely raise a lot of value for the coin itself.
A moment that what we call a super cycle, similar to what happened in 1971 when the US dollar went off the gold standard. And that moment is when Wall Street innovated financial products because the dollar became synthetic in 1971. But in 2025, it's now Wall Street essentially digitizing or tokenizing the real world. So Ethereum is unique because, number one, it's the blockchain of choice where Wall Street is building stablecoins and tokenized assets. But Ethereum is a proof of stake blockchain. So Ethereum treasury companies actually earn a staking yield. That's why MicroStrategy stock did better than Bitcoin. In August 2020, MicroStrategy stock was $13. Today it's $335. It's gone up by more than 25 times. The price of Bitcoin has gone from 10,000 to 110,000. So it's gone up by 11 times, but MicroStrategy stock's gone up by 25 times. And that's because MicroStrategy, as a treasury company, has grown your Bitcoin per share. And Bitmine is growing your Ethereum held per share every week. It's growing by roughly 50 cents per day. To give you a perspective, the stock was $4.50 when we announced the treasury strategy. And today the stock's $43. So it's gone up by 10 times. Ethereum has risen by 50% in that period of time. So Bitmine has outperformed Ethereum because you're growing your Ethereum held per share. So if you took the original example, okay, so let's say on July 8th, you had $4 of Ethereum or $4 worth of Bitmine stock. And then let's say Ethereum went down 50%. The original person only has $2 of Ethereum because they bought it for $4 and it went down 50%. But today, someone has $40 worth of Ethereum, and if it goes down by 50%, it's $20 per share. So you actually made money even though Ethereum fell 50%.
Wow.
So it's a crypto treasury that's properly managed and executed will vastly outperform.
So that's what XRP wants to do. XRP literally wants to have treasuries like that, and a lot of companies have invested into the ledger that way.
Strategy than to buy a Bitcoin ETF.
And so, yeah, for precisely this reason, I do prefer XRP treasuries over XRP ETFs, but that does not mean that XRP ETFs are not going to be vastly changing the future in a massive way too. I mean, you saw how much volume came into Bitcoin ETFs during IBIT and all these other massive institutions launching them. It was amazing. And we saw retail flood into there because they don't understand the difference and intricacies between MicroStrategy and these ETFs, and they don't realize that these treasury companies in reality are much better for them for a number of different reasons. The one Tom Lee just described being one of the main ones. But I digress. A lot more treasury companies are coming. A lot more people are adopting stablecoins. The Fed is cutting interest rates. They're printing money, and this is likely to continue up until the end of the year. I showed you guys the data. I showed you guys the irrefutable facts. 20 of the last 20 times the Fed has cut rates with the S&P near all-time highs, we closed even higher 12 months later. That is a statistic that can change your life forever only if you take advantage of it. So I'm really hoping...
That's a really good point. But I feel like also the rate cuts, those were different times. In 2021, rate cuts, we haven't seen any rate cuts for 3 to 4 years. But Levi has made a very good point here. Like, what's going to happen to XRP next is going to be a game changer. The issue is a lot of people look too much short term instead of long term and think, oh, well, XRP ETFs, are approved. Why is it down? It's a very clear idea why we can finally see what's going on here. It is that XRP right now is at this price point very, very, very exciting for, another pump. Again, I could be totally wrong here, and it is risky, but a lot of these rate cuts are going to help us even 12 months from now. We got to think, I'm personally thinking long term on XRP. I'm thinking like 3 years, 5 years, because 5 years are going to pass by really fast, and these rate cuts are going to help us very, very well. Guys, I have been live for over 3 hours and 18 minutes, so smash that like button. So let us see here what else we have. We have seen tons more news here for XRP. This is huge for everyone holding XRP right now. So I'll be back in 1 minute, guys. I'm just going to get some water.
Next couple of years, I think altcoins that have strong flows will outperform. I don't know if you guys seen this, but there's a forecast saying that the ETF for XRP is going to attract 8 billion of inflows next year.
The game is about to change, and it's all about XRP. With everyone seemingly going bullish on XRP, this can only mean one thing. We're going to see skyrocketing prices and FOMO like never before, with the potential launch of that ETF coming in less than 24 hours and a big new agreed partnership. Absolutely is great news for you holding your XRP bags. In this video, we're going to break down some key analysis as well as taking a look at the latest developments when it comes to XRP, including some of these massive partners that I think are going to absolutely skyrocket XRP in the very, very coming few weeks. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it. So Chris Marszalek giving us a view. $8 billion could be on the cards for ETFs. And this is why I think it's such a big narrative. The Rex Osprey ETF, which we predict is coming very soon, could see a significant amount of capital flowing into this market. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But when you take a look at Hyperliquid, what are the whales doing? Well, the reality is over 50% are now going long on the market. 80% are going long on XRP. It's actually one of the most bullish altcoins we have, with traders really setting themselves up for what could be a big catalyst bouncing off those Fed rates later today. But that wasn't the big announcement in the last 24 hours. The US and UK, finally they're getting into the market, but the US and the UK have made an agreement on cryptocurrencies, and this includes none other than Ripple and therefore XRP. Now, this is all about enhancing stablecoin markets, the financial sector, and much more. Now, Rach.
So, hey guys, so I wanted to talk about this UK and USA partnership for XRP. So the US and UK reach agreement on cryptocurrencies, including details on Ripple. So again, to involve Ripple, like countries literally talking about Ripple, is major, major news for anyone. We never saw countries talk about cryptocurrencies like that. And that's what makes me even bullish, 10 times down. So these type of partnerships are literally what moves the projects forward. So yeah, I'm definitely excited. This is some good, good news, to be honest, good reporting as well. Watching him for a while, but 2-bit crypto. So further Coinbase news for XRP. And we do have Coinbase going on XRP. Again, these exchanges have not allowed XRP before because of the lawsuit, but they had nothing against them, to be honest. So just think about it.
At some points with Ripple and Barclays, also we know, have been doing some work with XRP. It kind of feels like all our ducks are lining, and well, without actually saying that XRP is about to go crazy, well, XRP looks like it's about to go crazy. Officials said the meeting was organized at the last minute following a letter sent by the crypto industry to the UK government ahead of Trump's official visit. He actually touched down just a few hours ago before recording this video. But Donald Trump's administration has expressed strong support for digital assets. UK's kind of been a little bit wishy-washy with it. That might all be about to change. And what coin to pick? Well, it looks like XRP could be there. And don't forget...
Yeah, so why are all these big companies going for XRP? I'm guessing because it has so much trading volume. It has trading volume that's absolutely insane. There's not any other cryptocurrency except Bitcoin and Ethereum that can have... Of course, it's top 3 coin, but, we are hearing more talks about XRP right now than we do have about Bitcoin. So let that sink in. Again, more people are talking about XRP than they are talking about Bitcoin. Let that sink in.
Key things, again, namely aligning to what that partnership is all about. Stablecoin issuers, operational effects, as well as RLUSD scale measures and the XRP impact channels, all going to be very, very important and one to keep very close to it. But that wasn't all. And I think this is where you really, truly start to believe XRP has got bigger things than just where it is now. You could argue a little bit that this is why the XRP price hasn't really moved. But Abu Dhabi-based company ORQO now aiming to build a yield platform for Ripple stablecoin. Now, this is, I think, in response to those ETFs that are going to come with staking. But the reality is they are going to have a huge amount of money. It's European licenses, and now it's officially beginning trading in Abu Dhabi. Now, just to give you an idea of some of the numbers.
So yeah, obviously if it's from there, it must make a lot of money. And again, another partnership that mostly Ripple can take about it.
Doing something to generate that yield for the company. The fact that we know that Ripple is now in discussions with the UK government, the US government, everything else, for me, this tells us one thing. We are going to get a big financial sector boost when it comes to RLUSD. That's how it's going to create yield. It's like getting interest on your savings account. I think this is going to be important. It's licensed in Poland, in Malta, and it's now awaiting approval from financial services in Abu Dhabi global markets. And ultimately, putting the pieces together, it could become the first global on-chain asset manager. This was from CEO Nicholas Motz. He said in a statement, once again, this is all about RWA, tokenization, and at the forefront of it is all about XRP. Very bullish indeed. And this is why institutions are now aligning with ETF launches, XRP segment, and more importantly, how this price works and goes forward. And I think this is important. October, with all these SEC approvals, could...
Yeah, I fully agree here. But also, it's not just the ETF approvals. It's Bitwise CEO... I guess Chief Information Officer Matt Huggan points to October for altcoin ETFs. And again, this altcoin Coinbase XRP news, I never heard about this. But anything that's news overall for XRP is promising here. So the ETF's the main driver of the factor of the news. But we do have other stuff as well here. Like there's 10 times more news that we're going to get in October. There is infinite amount of news for XRP that's probably going to keep coming and coming and coming because XRP right now is the talk of the town. Everybody's talking about it, even including details on Ripple. So for cooperate on cryptocurrencies, I'm wondering how much in 5 years Ripple is going to be involved in every single major transaction. So let that sink in. I'm definitely hoping it's a lot, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and I will keep you guys updated with more news. Smash that like button, and until next time, I'm going to take a break. Been streaming for 3-4 hours. Love you all. You can see my eyes a bit tired. Gonna eat something. Love you all. You can check out my other videos. They are going to be live on the channel as well, and I will keep you guys up. Give me a second. Here you can see where I'm live at or have videos posted.